You talked about Dean and what's that angel's name?
Castiel. Yeah.
Castiel. Like,
I feel like that's most of the show, though.
We can definitely cut out some of the
Castiels. Yeah, we go back to it a lot.
Okay, Luke, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
I have to say it on cue. I'll say it when I'm ready.
Okay, sorry.
With its 11th season, CW Supernatural became the longest-running American live-action fantasy TV series, very specifically. There are now, in fact, 15 seasons of epic highs and lows all around, from the in-universe stakes to the quality of writing, acting prowess, cultural impact, and everything in between. The series begins as a dark fantasy procedural following the all-American brothers Sam and Dean Winchester as they hunt the creatures that go bump in the night, with their lives spent on the road like rock stars, driving a black vintage muscle car, shooting shotguns, meeting hot chicks, and fighting over whatever fanged magical menace comes their way. This show is created by a hetero macho, all-American male gaze for the queer, liberal, teenage Tumblr girl of the 2010s. But we'll get to that. Sit back and take off your thinking cap, because we promise we won't be reading into things too much.
That was beautiful. I think if someone described the show to me that way, I would not have watched it.
It's hard to
no
encapsulate everything.
To your description, just.
Yeah. Any critiques, comments, things to add? I think I fucking hit the nail on the head.
I think you got it. I think you described it perfectly. It's just hearing it described like that makes me realize I would not have watched this show.
There are too few words in the dictionary to describe
the epic highs and lows of Supernatural.
And I think that's literally the show for me. It's literally either so good and so fun and so enjoyable, or just like
sometimes
fun in the opposite way.
Sometimes I can't tell if like it's really good, like if it's if like the episodes or the shows or the characters are like, just like generally speaking, when I'm watching it, if I'm really enjoying it, like I think this is quality television, or if like they just stumbled onto like this was
That's
good,
really
but
interesting.
it's not actually like quality.
There's some interesting stuff I was reading for, I think some of it, yeah. I think definitely it's one of those lightning in a bottle kind of, should not have lasted the 15 seasons that it did, but just had this je ne sais quoi that just carried it through.
Yeah.
Through its highs and lows. Mostly its lows. There were a lot of lows.
It was on at a time that I think where, like, you were very forgiving for TV shows. Like, you could have a bad season and still get another one.
I think it was kind of, like, unique, too, for the time. Like, I feel like it was one of the first of those, like, YA, like, teen drama shows that are, like, a little more serious, a little more grown-up.
It didn't even mean to be YA, but it was.
It was, and it's, like... I think it's, like, a coming-of-age in its own right, and it's... Which, like, a lot of monster-focused content is, I think, for the genre.
Yeah.
And it has, like... I think it is kind of, like, a predecessor coming off the heels of, like, Smallville... And, like, Arrow,
like
it's
Buffy
kind
the
of...
Vampire
Yeah,
Slayer?
Buffy the Vampire. And then just kind of rifting this gap between that and, like, what we have with, like, the Vampire Diaries and Arrow and... The Flash and, like, all those, like, classic CW shows that we know today. I think this was one of the pillars.
I mean, and if you want a show that truly never changes, like, is consistent to a T, you should watch Supernatural. I feel like as far as comfort, I wish it was my comfort
shocked,
show.
Surprised, and awe, but like not really.
But like reset all the time. Like I almost wish Supernatural was a comfort show to me because it's such a consistent show that like nothing ever changes, and so you could watch it and just be like, oh, I love that. But it's not one for me. But I think it is for a lot of people, which is why the show went on for so long.
Yeah,
people were just craving a procedural.
It was a really cool procedural, and I think like one of the, like we've obviously I feel like it goes without saying, Supernatural is really two shows. It's up to season 5, which is I think the Eric Kripke era where he was showrunning, and then and then after season 5, it's just kind of for shits and gigs.
Yeah, I mean,
And it has its own
I would say there's even
things
like
that it does.
you could even add like a third
different.
little one in there that's like like I feel like season
Yeah.
6 and 7, even maybe 8, I don't know, are kind of like, or at least season 6 and 7 are kind of like transitional. Like, I don't think they know exactly what they're gonna do with it yet, which is like a fun version of the show, because like I feel like that's when they made some of the funniest, like, but also like cool episodes.
Yeah, they're just trying everything.
Just
Well, I think
like,
like it ends, right? It ends in season 5. They didn't know they were going to be picked up. It tells a nice, I think like when I recommend the show to people, I'm recommending seasons 1 through 5.
yeah,
And you can stop watching there, and that's a good show. And it pays its respects, and it's like a solid arc that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and the loose ends are all wrapped up. And then in the little epilogue at the end of the season finale of season 5, it starts again.
Oh, is there an epilogue at season 5?
Yeah, there's like the little...
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Well, it ends with like... You know how it ends. And then... She has no idea. It ends with...
No, yeah, I know. I understand what you're talking about.
And then it picks up again with...
Oh, okay. Okay.
I doesn't care.
Whatever.
It's fine. Well, that's the only thing I don't want to spoil. I feel like that's a spoiler.
That's a spoil. Oh.
Characters die. Every character will die at least once and come back to life. Sometimes
Yeah.
multiple times, sometimes a million times.
Yeah, no, I guess, yeah. I really liked the end of season 5, but I don't remember the little snippet you're talking about, TBH.
Oh, I just mean like it ends with like the ultimate sacrifice being made and things like finish, like ending.
Oh, yeah,
like defeating the evil. And then it just opens back up again with like, oh, but wait.
Yeah, I guess.
Kind of.
Because I guess they knew, which is kind of weird to me that they made it this way. They knew that they were getting another season when they did season 5, but they still decided, honestly, maybe I respect this, they still decided to conclude their overarching story and like very much have it be like, this is the end of a chapter, we're starting again.
I really like it. I think maybe this is a hot take and maybe I should save it for the end, but I really think that it's a really fun show and that it does this transition, because I think a lot of shows kind of just go on and like kind of unravel into nothing and unravel into their mess, and you never get that like satisfaction.
I think I ultimately am very glad they did it. I just like, it was an interesting choice knowing that they had another season to do the story.
Yeah, I just think it's nice that it gives you that satisfaction when you need it. So like all of like, as an original fan, it's kind of like, you know how shows that go on for this long, they kind of, or like closely this long, they give you kind of intro episodes every few seasons. Like every few seasons, it's like they're kind of resetting things or kind of re-explaining things to bring in new audiences.
Yeah.
This kind of feels like they're doing the reverse of that, where they're giving kind of an out. And like, this is the end of this story. If you enjoy these boys, you can keep watching.
I don't think they're trying
materials.
to give you an out, though.
That's what
I don't
it
think it
feels
was
like,
intentional
though.
that they gave us an out.
You don't think it was intentional?
No, I think
But I
they
think
just
it was
like,
because
they
were
were
gonna
like,
end the
this
show.
is the end of like this story and we have another season, so like we'll start another story. But I don't think it was an intentional like, oh, you can stop watching now.
No, I don't think it was intentional, but I think it's like, it's nice that it gives you that.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like it's like when the Marvel movies do it. Like they end the movie, then they're like the Marvel post-credits scene.
Supernatural
That's what it
had
feels
it
like for
first,
me. And
the
it's like,
post-credits
continue
scene.
the adventures.
If you dare.
Yeah, they try to hook you again, but like, you can withstand it if you want. Well, you notice pretty quickly into season 6 that, okay, maybe the story was done.
Yeah.
That's not to say I don't enjoy my later seasons.
I
of
would say
Supernatural.
it took me until season 10 for me to be like, oh yeah, this was done.
Yeah.
Because when I got to season 9 or 10,
That's
I was
fair.
like, so this show's just bad now, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with it too is that, yeah, it gets bad. But even in the worst seasons, they can always pull out a classic Supernatural episode.
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
feel like
classic
at least-
Supernatural episode is just them hunting a monster.
But they can always hit the points that brought people in. And I like that too, because it is a procedural, and it's like, yeah, the overarching plots get really stupid.
Yeah.
But they will still have, like, that's what kept me going, at least through like a lot of it, even though most of it is very skippable. There is the odd, like, let's just do a case this episode. And sometimes they get really good writers for it, and sometimes they're really good cases, and then it just goes back to the main
honestly,
story.
I almost like get tired of those ones by the end. I'm like, I'm so sick of just like, let's just do a case episodes. I'm like, with everything that's going on, the world's about to end again. But let's just do a case to do a case. Like,
we'll go from like, these like these like
all of our friends are
emotional, like world-ending. Yeah, our friends like literally died in front of our eyes at the end of the last episode. Next episode, what about this like clown ghost that's like murdering
your friend just died?
Fat people. All we like, let's chase them.
Push through.
Well, there's nothing we can do for the meantime, so might as well go fuck around for an entire episode.
Honor their memory by hunt something cool.
Yeah, and they're cracking jokes and stuff.
Should we?
They do less of that in the first half of the series. It's a little. They take themselves more seriously. They do better segues.
They start the first half of this series by like looking for their dad, right? And I think like a lot of that is just like following like down like hunting leads that their dad would follow down, which is why like it works as like them doing one-off hunts and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, the hunting gets weird in the end. Like hunting capital H is like a weird thing by the end. We can talk about it.
Okay. I was going to say, should we quickly mention that we're not in our normal pink and blue colors?
Oh, yeah. For anyone observing us, you'll be pleased to see that we did dress up for this episode as the darling little angels that we are. Cherubs, even, maybe I would say.
I wouldn't. But we did dress up like we are angels. Isn't that sweet of us? For spooky season.
And I found the closest thing to a beer I could, which is a glass bottle. To represent.
Sparkling rosé.
Well, it's
which
saintly.
Is saintly, yeah.
Just like us.
Because we're saintly also. This show is, it's I feel like the epitome of spooky season for me, so.
Yeah, it's scary. Especially some of the original ones. Even some of the later ones, sometimes they go dark.
Yeah, I mean, it gets real dark. The finale is, like, very dark.
Randomly, they'll pull out, like a PG-14 rated episode.
The, like, villain of the finale is, like, super creepy. He just, like, has, like, they're just all wearing, like, these weird, like, Joker-esque smiling masks and are, like, murdering people. And I think that's super creepy as, like, a dark, like...
Do you want to go into, like, tropes? Because I feel like this is reminding me of the first one that I have.
Okay, yeah. What's your first trope?
It's when... long-running TV, not even like long-running, and it's not even specifically for like dramas, but when shows start off catering to like a much more grown-up audience, then they slowly devolve to cater to like literal babies.
Oh yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like season 1 of Supernatural is dark, and they're dealing with like a lot, sometimes like adult contact. Like there's episodes where there's like child abuse, and it's like being spoken about, and there's like assault that's being spoken about. There's like it's very gruesome. They take things very seriously.
It's very gruesome. I'll give you that.
It's scary, and they're trying to scare you, and it's like very grown up themes. And then you get to like later on, and it's just dick jokes and laugh tracks and
yeah. Well, I'll never forget like my brother saying like oh, like weren't you like screaming like in like fear like a couple weeks ago watching this show? Why is it so funny all of a sudden? And I was like, well, you see, I went from season 1 to season 7, and all of a sudden I was
nothing scary anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
unless they get a really good actor for the villain. Which happens sometimes, not often.
But yeah, no, I mean, it definitely, like, it starts off as a show that I also think is, like, wouldn't necessarily be 100% for the Tumblr girlies. Like,
yeah.
I think it's just, like, sort of supposed to be, like,
it's like macho.
Yeah,
it's
like
supposed to be like
macho
manly,
guys. I think
like
it is supposed to
the
be
everyman and
for
like,
guys.
Yeah, and it's like very cowboy and detectives.
Yeah,
and
they're
everything's
cowboy
so
detectives.
Masculine.
That's my trope.
Cowboy, is that a trope?
Is that a trope?
Where else have you seen that?
Cowboy detectives? In lots of detective shows. Have you seen
specifically about cowboys?
I
mean like
I think they're just like very cowboy like detectives. Oh, should we move this so we can actually see?
Yeah, we can't see any of Luke's notes. Because I feel like this defeats the purpose of the notes.
Yeah.
Barbie.
Yeah, Barbie. They're cowboy detectives.
Cowboy detectives. Okay.
Is that okay?
One of the Kens do detectiving?
No, they're cowboys. The patriarchy is all about cowboys, so it works out in Barbie.
Well,
no, I
instead
think
of cowboy,
I have seen,
horses here,
I have
we
seen
have
a few shows where they are like basically just cowboy detectives, and I'm like, this is hilarious. I love this as a
yeah,
plot.
they do cowboy stuff sometimes. They do spy stuff.
No,
sometimes.
I just also feel like they're very like cowboy vibes, like just
yeah.
the boys.
No, you're totally right. It's I think like it's very Western as well.
Yeah,
like stylistically, and I love the style of it as well. In the first, like they really go hard on it in the first seasons.
Well, have you seen Jared Padalecki's new show, like The Walker, which is just basically him being a cowboy detective again?
No. Jared Padalecki.
I haven't seen it. I just have
I'll
seen
talk about
ads
him
for
at
it,
some
and
point.
he's just a cowboy detective again.
Okay, no, we're not talking about him yet.
Okay.
I have lots to say about him.
Anyways, we can move on from this
I wanna
trope.
hear
It's
about The
just one of the
Walker.
ones that I had. I don't know anything about it. I've never seen it.
Okay, well,
I might
sorry,
watch it.
cowboy detectives. Yeah, I guess
I
crimes
just-
happen everywhere, and sometimes
Sometimes cowboys
Cowboys
gotta
get
solve them.
no, but yeah, it's very Western. Well, they have like they have a cult.
But I mean,
The pentagrams on the railroads. The
at
like,
one point, like
there's a crossroads demon that's complete with like
Dean
jazz
and Castiel
like,
are just
saloons.
dressed up as cowboys and are like,
Yeah. They travel on
"Howdy,
the south.
ma'am."
All the honeymoon states. They go around Wisconsin, Massachusetts.
They're road tripping the whole time. They're
Yeah.
road tripping.
Minnesota, Wyoming. Anyways.
Minnesota.
Well, that was
Okay.
Okay.
Any other tropes you got? Let's move on.
like nothing was addressed.
I don't want
Okay.
to talk about it anymore.
Sorry, I'm going to my next trope. This is also part of, I feel like, the show's legacy is, I don't know if I'm ready to go into it.
Okay.
It's a lot. There's a lot of queer baiting that happens on
That's true.
Supernatural to like a disgusting degree. Like, I think Destiel might be a hate crime for the way that it teased the shit out of this queer-coded relationship, friendship, I guess, between.
I think the thing about Destiel is that, to be fair, something was made out of like just like sort of a deep friendship that like people were like, I
on the
love
other
this,
side.
like I love that, like they're like gonna be gay for each other, and I'm like, I don't know if we've gone 10 seasons and they haven't decided that they are gonna like be together and that like, either of the characters are gay, then it's probably not gonna happen. And like I understand that. I think from a writing perspective, they definitely changed the way that they changed the way that they wrote that relationship to give fans who are like really into that relationship like little tidbits here and there. But I also, which I don't like, I think they should have just like either done the relationship the way they wanted to or pulled the trigger on them being together. But like, I think from the start of it, like when I was watching, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, they're not going to date. These are two very straight characters.
Cassie, I'm
a
of
little
a
bit
different
less.
opinion. But I think that, honestly, I think it was kind of an egregious amount of teasing that relationship and laying down romantic scenes. And I think what added to it for me, to like the kind of cruelty of it almost, was at like looking into like the behind the scenes stuff as well, and how fans were like ridiculed for even thinking it, and like how actors were saying like almost like, ew, gross, that's crazy, why would you impose this on me? And it's very homophobic, I think. Overall, I mean, the creators knew there's certain facts about the behind the scenes things that are just like true. Castiel's role, Castiel was only supposed to last 3 seasons. He was supposed to be the angel that arrives to save Dean from purgatory, and he was only supposed to arrive to save Dean from purgatory because they changed the ending of the last seasons because there was a writer's strike. So Castiel happened entirely by accident, but because he was such a fan favorite, they ended up giving a role that was supposed to go to a female angel to Castiel, and who was supposed to become Dean's eventual love interest to Castiel, which I think is really interesting.
Interesting.
So and I think it's just like, even though like, of course, I think a lot of people who were watching until season 10, season like 11, season 15, like I think people watching that far knew that the show was never going to do Destiel. They knew that the show hated it, that they were a very heteronormative show.
Yeah.
Studios would never accept it. But I think, I don't think it's fair to say that like it was never going to be a thing, because I think that there was a lot of subtext to be picked up on, and there was I think there was a reasonable lens to read that through, to see this as a romantic relationship, especially when it comes to like some of the later seasons where they are laying on thick like a couple of jokes.
I do think they lay on thick the like they're basically like a married couple jokes.
Mm-hmm.
But from my perspective, like when I was watching it initially, I was like, I guess I just sort of thought like, oh, like Dean is kind of established as like this type of character, I highly doubt that the show is gonna like
No,
put
that's
them
fair.
together.
They're obviously never gonna do it.
And then I think like from that perspective, I was like, okay, so like, yeah, like these scenes could be read as romantic, or they could just be like, maybe they do just have a really deep friendship bond, which like I'm fine with. But I do think later in the show, in order to like service fans, they do add a lot of like, and that's where I'm like,
that's
okay,
what annoys me. It's like
it was one thing when it was like just like you have to give them emotional scenes to like develop this bond, and like friends can be very emotional with each other.
Yeah, that's
totally
okay
fine.
too.
It's just like they beat that joke of like, oh, like they're basically a couple to death sometimes in the later seasons, and then are like, no, we would never, like why would you think that? And I'm like, what?
I think just like the kind of no homo vibes that they paint around it. Yeah, but you're totally right. I agree. Like I think it's also like, okay, like you don't need to like impose relationships on people all the time, but like I think for an audience that was probably this starved for like any relationships, there were no emotional relationships because everyone scared the female.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is that's what I read was that. So like initially, like Jo, who was introduced, was gonna be Dean's love interest, who I was obsessed with her.
I was so down for that,
and I was really down for it. But apparently, like because the only way at the time that they could get like feedback from the fans was like message boards. And so like a lot of like fangirls were like really anti that because they wanted like to be with Dean basically, so they're like no, which is like
girls.
Wild that's like a mentality people have, so they like scared them away. But it happened in like all of the love interests. I found out apparently Bella, who's in like a later season, was also supposed to be a bit of a love interest for Dean. Wasn't as big a fan of that, but whatever. And like they scared her away too. They're like no, like I hate her, like absolutely, like basically just like not
very,
like the hate
internalized
from like
misogyny, or like I don't know, is it just misogyny? I don't know, but
I think it's just like the hate from like fangirls specifically who like have this mentality of like he's mine so no one else can like have him is kind of wild to me, especially since if I really love a male character and then a female character comes on who like I really enjoy watching, I almost want them to get, and they have chemistry obviously, I want them to get together because I'm like, oh, this character and this character who I love are really great and they have chemistry, they should be together because that would just make me happy. It's not like I, as a human person in the real world, can be with that fictional character who doesn't exist in real life. Or why would I want to also?
I think I would describe the relationship between the show and the fans as like a toxic, like symbiotic relationship. I think like they both fueled each other and like tore each other apart. Because like, that's like, it's like queer rating's a result of there not being any female representation in the show. And the not having any female representation in the show is also, I think, a fact of like the showrunners not ever really representing women in more than just like a hot chick single mom looking for help, damsel in distress, like that. They're very two-dimensional. But also like not having like
so that's the not having any like romantic love interest for like a straight relationship in the show.
Comes no from, complex female
comes
characters.
From the fans not wanting also like female characters to get in the way of where they would insert themselves in the story.
And then when you give this like, I guess what would be a close male friendship perspective to it, like, it's like of course they're gonna lay on a relationship aspect to it because they want to ship something.
Teenage girls and tween girls and stuff are really into gay dude relationships.
Yes, it's very
which is
kind of crazy to me too. Like it is really interesting, I think, that like that this show that's so masculine and is so like male characters doing macho masculine things is so like primarily enjoyed by young girls.
I mean, it's just like
who don't want to see themselves in it. Like they're just like, no, give me men. But I think it's interesting. I think it's like one of those things where it's like a sense of like they want to remove. It's like I want
they would want to be like the insert character. Like when they're writing their fan fiction, they don't want to deal with like another love interest. They'd want to be like the insert character.
I think that's part of it. I think another reason for it too, I think might be this more like maybe nuanced of they don't want like I think it's just of being like a woman and being oppressed in society. Sometimes you don't always want to see yourself depicted in media because you don't want to have these power dynamics being represented to you. Like you like that it's just fun and you can hop in and enjoy this like male world that's not confined. And I think that's something that like comes up in different shows as well.
I mean, that could be it. I wouldn't see it that way so much as I think, I think it kind of does go back to what you said before though. Like they can't write a complex female character.
Yeah.
Which means that like any female character who I see, like I'm not actually seeing like a real woman in any sense. Like even like Jo, basically the way her character was written, and apparently people really didn't like her, but it's funny because she just was told like, you're basically the girl version of Dean, but like younger.
Yeah, that's what I got.
And like people are like we're like really mad about it. And we're like, oh, I hate her. And it's like, she's like, I got a lot of criticisms for the way that I played Jo, but like I played her exactly how like my sheet said to play her, like how I was told to play her. Like
I think Jo was really cute.
She's
I really liked
like Alona Tal, who like plays her, was like talking about it, and she's like, yeah, like it just said like sort of like play like you're a female Dean, and she's like, so that's what I did, and people were really mad about it.
It's such a double standard. I think as well too, because I don't even think the men are that incredibly deep or well written.
No, they're not.
They're very. Everyone in the show is so
very
two-dimensional.
I think the beginning, Sam has a little bit more dimension to his
Yeah.
character.
And then they realize.
But Jared Padalecki can't act, so... And then I think Dean does get more dimension to his character also, but like, they sort of don't know how to like... I don't think they know how to follow through on that, and I kind of talk about it...
I don't think they ever do.
In my thoughts on the finale and like where they end up. Because I don't think they understand how to like show...
Like an emotional arc.
And a character growth and development.
Agreed. Totally. It's everything they write is all the emotional beats are very two-dimensional.
Which is crazy because one of the top...
And like made up and fabricated.
One of the top tropes I feel like in this show is daddy issues, which is like a well for emotional character growth and like development and stuff, like just like having parental issues in general, because like everyone in this show has daddy issues. Sam and Dean, daddy issues and mommy issues. Jo has daddy issues because her dad's dead. Claire has daddy issues because Castiel possessed her dad and like he disappeared. Like everyone,
Castiel has daddy issues because God's like a neglectful father, which is also crazy to me that they never drew that parallel between God, like Chuck, and John Winchester. Because are they not the same? Are they not representing the same thing?
They're like the absentee father.
Absentee father that's kind of abusive and like...
I honestly, like when I was writing my notes,
raising warriors.
I was like, oh, like is the showrunner, like the creator of the show, like are they okay? Like do they just have a really like deep trauma with their like father that like they can't explore?
But they never have anything to say about it or anything to commit to when they say about it.
No, they almost like add in like, oh, like they have issues with their dad or like their parents in general or like family, just to like make the characters seem like they have more to them.
It's like the illusion of them having
like dimension.
Almost. Like all of their
real.
They always have their end of episode chats on the Impala or in the bunker eventually.
Yeah.
And they're all so meaningless and so skippable and so nothing to do with anything that's going on really.
And it's
contradictory every episode. It's like Smallville, the same thing. It's like any of those shows where it's just like they have to shoehorn in these emotional moments that aren't applicable, aren't like relating to the message.
It just doesn't ever I like the trope of like having like issues with one of your parents or like whatever it is, because I think it's a really good like tool in TV shows and stuff to like show characters like why they are the way they are and why they want to change that.
Yeah, but like showing that generational
and
trauma.
like showing like,
and, like where they came from.
Yeah, and like just how they became what they are, but also like what makes them different than this person. Like what, like are they proud of this? No, like so like
are they going to choose their own path? Are they going to follow? Yeah,
and so I think it's fun, but they like killed me, like beat me over the head with it, and then never did anything with it, and like didn't ever like follow through on like a character like change. Like maybe Dean starts off as like this womanizing like kind of guy who's like really into hunting and is just trying to make his dad proud, and then he finally realizes that his dad is kind of a dick, and like
but even then they'll retcon it. I love my dad later on. My dad was the greatest guy that ever existed. We should never like forget about like, you know what I mean? It's fucking
but that's what I mean. It's like they sort of like bring him up as like, oh, he's like the perfect soldier, but then like they never really change that. Like they never show that Dean wants to be something different than that. I mean, they show like glimpses, I think, of Dean like actually wanting something that isn't necessarily what his dad raised him to be, but they never really follow through on it, and I think that's really tragic.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on it too.
Yeah.
It's mostly around the finale though.
Me too.
Okay, we'll go into it.
Okay. Do you have any other tropes you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, we kind of touched on it a little bit. This is like a random trope, but the only other place I really seen it is in Friends with Joey, but it's the ladies' man turned himbo, which I think is kind of a fun one.
I feel like that's always random. The case. Not it's always like, the case, but I think that happens a lot where it's like they don't know what to do.
Barney from How I Met You eventually, but I don't remember too much about it.
I don't know.
But it's like, because I think Demon's like that. He was cool.
Yeah.
He was an what do you call it? A womanizer?
Yeah, an adulteress.
Sorry, a womanizer. And then later on, it's just, I want pie and to play video games and to hang out with my brother and my friends.
Pie.
Yeah.
Like, Dean can always like just forgive anything if you bring him a pie. He's like, all right,
Yeah.
it's all good. Let's stop talking.
That's the most character growth I think Dean gets, really.
Yeah, as he stops being like so interested in women.
The other thing that annoys me too about
Because he's in love with Castiel, so he doesn't need women anymore.
if there's anything to show that the writers can't write growth anything more, it's that Dean at, what is he in the pilot, like 23, 24.
Yeah.
They show him, he likes to go out and drink at bars all night whenever they're like, whatever. He's rowdy, he's impulsive, he's doing the bad kid things of getting wasted all the time. At 40, whenever the show ends, however, as like a middle-aged man, he's still getting wasted at these like hole-in-the-wall bars every night while he's working a case. I'm sorry, if you're past 30, you're not on a work night getting blackout drunk every time you work.
I don't get blackout drunk on a work night now when I'm 23.
And just are fine the next morning to go kill vampires. Are you serious?
I mean, I think they show him hungover, but
I've seen episodes where he is not hungover. And that's the most magical thing to me.
That's the most unrealistic part of Supernatural.
If you did have like Castiel nearby, they just like,
he's like,
can you cure my hangover?
You're better now.
I would be tormenting Castiel for every little thing.
Oh,
Can you
totally.
move my period in 2 weeks? Okay, thanks.
Could you just like stop it from happening until I'm...
Can I get highlights? Okay, thanks. You think you can do that?
Could my hair down? Could you make me a little bit shorter? No, now a little bit taller, actually.
There's a few other, I guess, like mini tropes I had. Namely, we talked a little bit about generational trauma. That's how I called it. It sounded a little more professional.
Sorry.
There's a lot of meta storytelling.
It's just...
I don't really have anything to say about it, but that happens a lot, which is interesting.
Elaborate.
So, like, I think the core of it, like, so there's a shift that happens, I think, in the show and it getting silly when they introduce Chuck and his novels titled Supernatural. And then basically the entire show becomes canon to itself, which I think is really fun. They can go back, like they do the episodes with the musical, they do the episodes, the French Mystic.
Yeah, I love that.
Where they know about Supernatural as like a pop culture thing, which it creates this really interesting discourse between, I think, the show and the fans, where there's moments like with Becky, who shows up and is like this rabid fangirl. And it shows kind of like their representation of the fangirls, which I think is also part of the symbiotic toxic relationship. The fangirls are like warring by writing Destiel porn, and then the show's warring by representing them as these crazed, rabid, sex hungry,
kind of crazy that the show
stupid
like
little
so
girls
openly shits on the like fangirls.
Well, it's because no one takes seriously what teenage girls like.
Yeah,
it was a representation of them. I think she comes back in the final season to have a discussion with Chuck. Well, there's the whole Metatron stuff, which is also very meta because Metatron. But like, I don't have anything really to say about it. But they come back and she's talking to Chuck, who's the author, and Chuck's writing this new story and asks for her feedback on it. And she says, "Oh, Castiel isn't in it enough." That's one of her points. And her other points is, "Oh, this shouldn't end as a tragedy. This should end with hope because it's about found family and it's about the beautiful relationship between these brothers and them growing to like fight for free will and like rebel against an authoritative system, whether it be their father, God, or whatever." And then he says, "No, it's a stupid end to the story. I want it to end with one of the brothers dying, if not everyone." And it being basically the ending that they had planned for season 5. And then she kind of explains why that doesn't work, and then they do it anyways.
Yeah,
they're basically addressing, I know this is how you want this to end, this is not how we want, then you can have your show, and this is our show. And we're going to do with it what we want.
You can have your show.
It's this crazy, like, no other show can really do this, other than maybe they're getting into, like, the multiverse stuff now, but, like, where they're just speaking basically directly to the people watching them.
No, that is fun. And, like, what the episode where they come into the real world
was fun
too, like, where they're like, we're actors, what?
They can do crazy shit
That
like
episode was one of my favorite episodes. Yeah. Like, I loved it. That was
It's so
6.
unique to, like, that show and what they can do with it.
That marked the turning point of Supernatural, the drama to Supernatural.
You're like, oh, it's this now. Okay.
I was like, ah. And Misha Collins did such a good job in that episode too. He was so funny.
Did he die in that episode?
Yeah, he's like in his car and he's like tweeting
to
his like fans, and he immediately gets stabbed. And I just think like,
get him on
what
jury
a good
duty.
job of like playing up like you're like being
himself.
like a pampered actor basically. The only other thoughts I had, I don't know if this really falls into tropes, like just like all the biblical like stories that they like do and stuff like that.
They do nothing with. Yeah,
I think it's like an interesting field that they play around with that I never really like appreciated
Yeah, it is very unique.
I think it's
and very developed.
fun. They play with like God and angels and heaven and hell, and like
And they're people, like they're characters. Like you can
like
slap
you
an
can
angel
interact
across
with
the
these
face. Yeah.
characters. And it's like doesn't feel very like religious per se. Like they're using these like religious characters, but it almost feels like no, this is just like real stories of like what's happened, and like here's like why it's fucked up, and here's why like
here's our interpretation.
like it's morally gray, and like there are like issues with it, which I think is like kind of an interesting like take. And I really like the way they play with Lucifer's character, because he's like a complicated character, but ultimately he always errs towards the side of evil.
I do like that they never redeem Lucifer.
Yeah,
I think that that's integral to Lucifer, is that he's always evil.
Even
because then
Lucifer,
if he's not, then what the fuck?
Because I think Lucifer is like he's always looking out for himself. So even when he's like tentatively on their team, we always know that like he's never really gonna fully be redeemed, because he doesn't have the capacity to be like empathetic and loving and stuff. Like he's always gonna
he's just literally a sociopath.
He just like doesn't
he
have
needs control, and he needs his father's approval, and even that's not gonna be enough.
Yeah,
he's an interesting character. Well, that's kind of also like my trope I had was like, I think maybe so much yours is like the magic system, and like more specifically with like, and I had kind of a question for you, because I think for me I'm kind of split on this.
Yeah.
Do you find that the rules of the magic system are like well respected?
I don't understand them at all.
Okay.
Like I don't.
They stack, right? Like they
get like their rules about magic and all that shit. I don't get it. I truly...
They go out of their way a lot to be like, oh, well, it's not going to be like this instance. It's going to be like this instance, but we have this to like protect it from like that specific side effect from that episode. And we can like they do a lot of that.
I think it's too much.
Yeah, it's like, too much. I can't follow it. I can't tell if it's being well respected or not. I think it's not.
Being like, well,
but it's doing a good job of tricking
it's like
me.
Someone who's writing this show is like, I'm so sick of watching things where like it isn't thought out well enough, so I'm just going to do this.
It's literally like maybe like
and it's like, oh, they're trying to think it through. Then you realize there's all these like complex like little things like that you would need to like think through in order to do this.
I would say it's probably maybe like well respected. Like I think they do a good job. Like this is the blade that can kill this, and that means like how the angels and the demon, like the power hierarchy of who's more powerful than who. The archangels are most powerful.
I think it's like well established, like who can do what and what can harm what. I think it's just like the magic system in general, like it does get very confusing, and there's a lot.
Well, the most confusing to me, I think, was when they started bringing in gods from other cultures. So I was kind of like, okay, these are the Greek gods, but are they just they're not separate from like God? Because like God is the creator of all. He's the one and only true God in supernatural.
Yeah.
But there's other gods. But they're just lesser tier?
I guess.
I don't know, you know?
Yeah, it's a little weird. It's
or like is God just also like Allah and also like Zeus and also like...
Well, they could never say that because it is an American Christian show. At the end of the day. Could you imagine...
No, but...
Could you imagine
well, this is
a TV
They're just
show?
like, oh, our God's like better than the other gods.
Could you imagine a US-based TV show saying that Christianity wasn't the top religion?
Well, I think I already got a lot of slack for being... It had, I think, mixed responses for being like blasphemous and then also
very religious.
I heard like one of the actors, I think maybe Jared Padalecki or Jensen, where they were talking and they were like, oh, I have like priests come up to me on the street, so they really like the show. Like men of faith. And I was like, okay.
Fucking Christ.
I don't know if this, I guess like the values at its core are probably good.
I think it is very blasphemous.
If you could figure them out.
That they literally are like by the end of it, God is the big bad. Which, to be fair, even in religious stories, God kind of comes off as a big bad. Yeah, so I'm not sure.
There's the Old Testament. Yeah. I think in the Old Testament, he's supposed to be bad, and the Good Testament. And the New Testament.
So, yeah, because the New Testament, he's supposed to be all about love, but in the Old Testament, he's all about fear.
Yeah.
Either way, he's kind of comes off as
he's the absentee father.
He is.
I guess we're kind of talking about redemption arcs, which is my other...
Oh, okay, that's your other trope.
Okay, my last trope is, I guess... Wait, no, I forgot again.
Redemption arcs. You were talking
No, I knew what it made me think of another one. Oh, okay, they do this trope. in Supernatural a lot where I fucking hate it. They'll kill anything in their path to get to the big bad that's going to destroy the world. But once they get to the big bad, oh, maybe we should give them a second chance. And maybe violence isn't the answer.
Yeah, like when they get to the end and like they could kill Chuck or whatever. Well, it's kind of spoiler for the finale, but they're like, oh, they could kill Chuck, and then they say, no, we're not those people. Like, we don't just like kill anyone. It's like, you kind of are though.
You are those people.
Like, yeah, like you like save people also, and like you help people, but you are those people who like straight up murder. Like, that's your like job.
That's the thing too.
That's your day job.
Sometimes you're so judgy about people too. It's like, you literally do this. Like the Winchesters for me are canonically huge hypocrites.
Yeah.
And just their moral system. Because like sometimes too, they're like, even like later on realizing that like, oh, monsters are actually not all inherently evil, and feeling like little to no remorse about like all the monsters maybe you didn't have a conversation with first before pulling the trigger.
Shoot first, ask questions later.
So like things like that, like that. Even though the magic system I think is sound, the moral system I think like falls apart as like what they're trying to say. It's like sometimes it's okay to kill the big bad, and that's like good, and sometimes it's bad to kill anyone or harm anything.
Sometimes I kind of wonder if the
sacrifice
show
anyone.
even knew what it was. But
yeah,
like I don't think they really understood.
They had nothing to say.
They were.
Yeah, and then they also do, I feel like, which is like a form of the same trope, where they do multiple times, they'll do Sam or Dean or maybe even Jack are like in trouble, they're gonna die, they're either being like possessed by someone that's inevitably gonna kill them, or they're like turned, like when Dean turns into a demon, or something like evil is going on. And either Sam or Dean are willing to sacrifice everything for the other. That makes sense, because they're, you know, a life for a life. They want to sacrifice their life for the brothers. When they start bringing in the larger group and multiple people start dying in order to save Dean's life, that's when it feels like, well, when is the sacrifice too much? Like, it's, okay, you want to save a person's life, so you're going to trade in like 3 more?
Yeah.
Like, how is everyone getting on board for that?
I think, like, I understand, like, in the context of, like, when they do war, like, when people are like,
is it
no,
just
I'll
they
die
need
for you.
Dean? Because he's so fierce and awesome.
I think they sort of
our
like,
soul protector.
To be fair, what Sam and Dean have pulled off is fucking incredible. Like the amount
they're
of
so
stuff
OP
they've
by
done.
the end.
But like, what's crazy to me is like they're still the same people basically that they were in season 1. Like they're, I would say, as good at doing what they do. They just seem to have lucked into succeeding every time.
No, I think they're better at doing what they do. Well, they have more like resources basically, which helps them a lot, and they know more things, and they have more tricks, and they can.
It just kind of feels like they treat Sam and Dean like they're these like all-powerful beings, but they're just 2 dudes who like seem to be lucky.
I think they do become all-powerful beings by the end.
They're not though. They're
but they basically are. They're like, they're like of the humans though. They're like the representative. They're like the protectors of the human race.
We are humans.
They're the most powerful humans,
I guess.
We can go into characters.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
Should we just start with Sam and Dean?
Yeah, I mean, you have your characters. Do you want to give us the rundown of your favorite
I have my
thing?
I have my list of favorite characters to least favorite characters.
Because I'm kind of curious. I heard
there's a good neutral spot in the middle.
Yeah.
You can see if anyone sticks out to you.
Characters that Larissa remembers from favorite to least favorite.
If I didn't remember them and they didn't make the list, that's because they sucked. So they're unimportant.
Go ahead, show us.
Oh fuck! I forgot someone.
Do you want to?
One of my favorite characters.
Do you want to quickly?
I know where she's gonna go.
Okay. She forgot a woman.
Okay, faves. Claire Novak.
Is that the one you forgot?
Yeah.
She's your favorite character.
Ant-Man made me block her from my brain for a bit.
Okay.
Rowena. Dean. Lucifer. Eileen. Castiel. Gabriel. Crowley. John Winchester. Joe. Helen, Bobby, Jack, Ketch, Benny, Sam, Amara, Ruby, Kevin, Chuck, Metatron, Garth, Mary, Winchester, and Charlie.
Why was Ketch so high up in that?
Okay, Ketch to me,
his main season at the bottom third.
Sucked. I hated him. But I liked him everything. When they introduced him as like an evil twin, but then he just wasn't. That's when he was at his best.
That was really funny.
I actually like really enjoy him and like everything after the British Manila season.
I actually did like Ketch. I was
so annoyed
he's
they
nowhere
brought him
near
back.
a top for me.
I think it's a fun character. Like, there's some characters that I think will detract from a scene for me, and there's some that will add to it, and that's kind of how I went about it. Okay. The ones in the middle are kind of neutral. Like, Sam is kind of a neutral character for me.
Oh, really?
Sorry,
okay, where does it stop being, like, a fave and start being a neutral?
I think when we get into, like, Benny.
So
Benny, Sam, Amara, Ruby, Kevin, Chuck, to Metatron is like neutral. Chuck and Metatron though sometimes get on my nerves.
Okay. So you have a lot of favorites then. You really like the characters in the show.
I typically do really like the character. I think there's a lot of really fun, unique characters.
Okay.
Crowley, I think is such a fun character.
Oh my god, amazing.
Him and Marina are so good.
He would be way higher on my list than he is on yours.
See, I had troubles though, because I just like, I think sometimes he's very like, his intentions are just half-assed. I don't think he's well written a lot of the time. Eileen's this like random death hunter that Sam meets and that Ish has like a love interest with.
Oh
that's, like,
yeah, I didn't
quickly.
care about
She was just kind of cool. I just added her.
I didn't really care about her.
She was cool.
And Lucifer would be lower for me. I don't find him as interesting as
I think he would. Well, I think especially in the early seasons, I was so excited when he was introduced. I love Mark Pellegrino, I think, who plays him. I think his take on Lucifer was just so iconic for me, and I thought it was just really fun.
I love the scene when Rowena sees Lucifer for the first time and basically says something to their markup like, damn, he's so hot. Like,
you know what Supernatural cannot do?
Yeah.
Is write flirting.
Yeah, they're not good.
It's so shit all the time.
Rowena did a good job with that line though. I can't remember what it was now, but
yeah,
Rowena's
really nail any line because as campy as it is, she's like own it.
She's so good.
But the flirting overall is pretty shit. Like all of the romantic tension stuff is really bad.
Okay,
it's all just like jokey.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's just fine.
I think the only flirting the only romantic they have to rely.
The only romantic tension is with Dean and Kaz.
I think they have to rely a lot on like the actors themselves having chemistry and then like them performing their lines in a way that are like somewhat sexual.
Yeah. I really like Claire. Okay. I still believe that there could be a spinoff one day with Claire. Oh my god, Jody. I don't know why I forgot about Jody. She's also amazing. But like their whole house I think is like really fun every time they go there. I love a character that's just like a spunky blonde that's not like a typical blonde, you know? She's like a rocker blonde. She's like awkward and like violent and like you know what I mean?
No, I literally I think she has kind of annoying, but like she's I think a really good character. She's one of the few characters who I think has any emotional depth.
She's like surprisingly well written, especially from what I expected at the show at that point, being that she is like a teenage girl, which they seem to hate. Yeah. And for her, they don't really fall into any of like the stupid teenager tropes that they otherwise I feel like would. Yeah. And she never gets like a boyfriend.
No, I like.
She's never like
season 13. She's just in her baddie hunting era,
yeah,
where she's just like doing like she's just like hunting and doing her thing. She's like, this is what I want to do. I really enjoy the tragedy of her story. I think it's really compelling. It makes her character very like interesting, but also like you see how like strong she is. Like
I like that she's just a straight up human, kind of like Sam and Dean. I feel like she can relate the most to them. Like she had a normal life that was disrupted by
Castiel,
the prophecy and the gods and the angels.
And like, I don't know, like if I was Claire, I don't know if I'd ever forgive Sam, Dean, and Castiel for like all the shit they put her through. But she does a really like she's really good at like it's a very complicated relationship, and she's basically like I think this almost like makes the queer baiting thing worse. Like she's basically just Castiel and Dean's daughter at some points. It feels like like they almost like insert Jack like too. Look, if they just like had a family. Yeah, Jack too a little bit.
Well, because sometimes they go a little bit that route with her with Cass, where it's like Cass is kind of like her surrogate father, but then they back away from that really quickly.
Oh, I think they very intentionally do that. Like, and Castiel feels a very intentional like responsibility to her, and I think I
don't know if she ever really accepts.
She doesn't accept it fully. But I think like no, I think she does. She doesn't accept him as a father, but she accepts him as sort of like a parental figure to her, like someone who she can always go to. I think like
not more so than Sam and Dean. I don't think. Like I feel like
I don't think closer, more so. I think
which is weird to me.
I think she's closer to Castiel than she is to Sam or Dean. I think she develops a relationship with Dean that has a certain closeness because they're very similar.
Yeah, she's almost like their little sister, which I like because she is basically. Like, just because her story is, like, almost the same as theirs. It's so, like, I think that's really cute about it.
But I think that she and Castiel do have, like, this deep bond that, like, neither of them can ever really push past.
Well, she's forgiven him. which is huge.
I don't think either of them can ever really push past the fact that he like is just like looks exactly like her father, and that's really deeply depressing.
And they're never gonna recast Castiel. So
and they're never gonna she's never gonna be able to like fully forgive him for that, and he's never gonna be able to fully forgive himself for like what he like wreaked on her life kind of thing.
I kind of wish they almost made like what's Jimmy Novak a little bit more of an asshole, so that it was maybe a little bit more like she's maybe grateful that this is her new father. But I guess they never went that route.
I think,
which
like,
I'm kind of surprised by as well.
But I think the point is like the people who are accepting like angels into their body are like devoutly religious people who are like,
did they ever like? But was that like I think at one point it was kind of like in a negative light, and then they kind of retconned it later. Like, what? I think like Jimmy Novak, did they like acknowledge like, oh, he's making a mistake by accepting Castiel? Or is it that he's like, oh, he was a good, like he was sacrificing himself.
He sacrificed himself for Castiel.
Yeah, that's lame.
But I think they did sort of say like he didn't know what he was really doing.
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
And then they kind of at the end are like, no, like I'll.
And then her mom goes like insane
but
after.
No,
whatever.
I
her
do
life's
really
fucked,
enjoy her relationship with Castiel. I think it's a really, because I think it's like a really complex relationship that like the show shows shockingly well. Like they depict it in a way that like I'm kind of surprised at how well they depict it, considering how bad they are depicting
that's
complex.
That's what surprises me too. And Ant-Man, Claire, like the girl who plays Claire, I don't know her name. Sucks. But like she's so good in the show, and it makes me sad because like I feel like she won't.
Do you think it's the writing or do you think it's the acting in Ant-Man? Like,
yeah, maybe. I think like I heard that like she had a hard time acting in Ant-Man because of like it's all. I mean, Ant-Man was a shit movie to begin with. I don't think anyone gave their best performance in that movie, but like it's all green screen. She's never done like a major motion blockbuster before.
Yeah, she's only done TV shows.
She's like in this like random ass Marvel movie. Like like I think she just really seemed in her element. And Supernatural, and I feel like I've seen her in the world so
I've seen her in like other stuff, and I've enjoyed her stuff, but like I can understand that.
But like I think Jodie's a good character too. I think that was amazing casting.
Jodie is Jodie is such a good
Cody's
character.
mom.
Yeah,
to be the mom of Sam and Dean, it was genius.
And she's like kind of like she makes the Mary character redundant. Like we shouldn't have Mary. Sam and Dean have a mom. It's Jodie.
Bringing back Mary was a big fuck you to Jodie.
It was also a big mistake, just generally speaking, for the show.
Yeah. What? Okay, they brought back. Let's talk about Mary. They brought back Mary. Immediately, worst character on the show. She's like, not to shit on moms. I know moms get a bad rap a lot of time for no reason, but she's like fucks off from her kids immediately, abandons them. Literally worse than people who tortured her son. Like someone that's fucked.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think
like
she's
it goes. Like, it's just it stacks up and it's a little
Mary
inexcusable.
comes back and they're like, she's like, oh, I'm just like lost, and it's like, bitch, you are a mother.
She's so whiny.
Stop whining about the fact,
and it's all her fault. Everything is her fault. Remember, because she made the deal, and that's why it all died. Because they have to do the thing where they like explain every detail of the backstory.
And it's fine. It's fine if that's like the way it is and she feels guilty. But the thing to me is that she comes back and she's like, oh, I just missed all this time. I came back and my sons are grown men. And I'm like, so what you're going to do is leave? Like immediately go away and
I don't
ghost
like you
your
guys.
Kids? Like they
actually don't
you.
like how you turned out.
They forgave you for everything and said, we just want you to be here. We just love you. You're our mom. And she says, I need some space.
Your children who are like abused by your ex-husband for like many years,
husband, or your late she's husband. Very much in love with.
Your late husband.
Mary comes back. She's like, she tells them what she does. They forgive her. She says, this is really weird for me. I just need some space. They're like, okay, yeah.
You already said that.
You go do your thing. I'm recapping.
Sorry.
Because you refuse to listen to me. And then she just ghosts them. Like Dean is like trying to reach out to her and she ignores him. And I just think it's like a really fucked up way of you to like, your sons have forgiven so much for you and are trying really hard to have you in their lives as best that like you can have, because they understand that it might be really weird for you to wake up 20 years later from being dead for 20 years but like not actually dead. And like she just ghosts them, and I think it's like a really like it's just like a terrible depiction of like the like perfect mother becomes just like, no, she's just awful, she's been terrible the whole time. Like
okay, when you know when they go to the apocalypse world, when Mary eventually like Dean was so unencouraged to go look for her. Oh, she's probably dead.
He's like, she's dead.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, dude, I would do the same thing. She's the worst. Well, what also pissed me off is they're bringing back Mary Winchester and like John. Fine. But like they're gonna bring back everyone. Kevin, Bobby. They're not gonna bring back Helen and Joe.
Apparently,
they were just annoyed by the hate.
I was hearing that Alona Tal, like the girl who plays Joe, she was asked to come back to the show and didn't get along with like the director or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Not like she'd agreed or anything, but like she sort of like didn't
mesh.
Like she was like hearing the stuff for her character and she was kind of like not into it. Like she didn't feel like there was anything.
It's not the same show she signed on to, I guess, 10 years ago, but
I think it was also like I heard, and I don't know if this is true, that like she just felt like they didn't really have any like the character that they were writing wasn't really like the character that she was. Like it wasn't really Joe, and like the way that they were like
I see what you mean.
doing it. And so because I think she said like she had been offered a few times to come back, but she only came back the one time in season 7 as like a ghost. But she like didn't like really like what the director was trying to do with the character.
That's fair. I mean, a lot of characters get fucking shit on by the writers in this, including Crowley, including Castiel, who die unceremoniously.
So I also heard drama about Crowley's death.
Oh yeah,
which is that apparently he was like, the actor basically said like, I've been on this show for however many seasons. I don't feel like there's anything more for my character to do. I want to leave. And I think the writers just gave him a shitty death as a big fuck you to him, like, because they were mad at him.
That's so sad.
Do you want to talk about Sam?
What's there to say? He's interesting at first.
What's there to say?
Jared Padalecki can't act. He was only brought on because of Gilmore Girls, in which he can also barely act. It's crazy to me that over 15 seasons of one of your lead actors, like, barely being able to act, you don't, like, invest in some acting classes.
I think it's hilarious how angry you are.
But, like, I don't want to take it personally. I still love him. And I think it wouldn't be the same without him. Sam's great.
I think when I rewatched it, Sam was my favorite character for the first 2 seasons. Yeah. I really like him. He's, like, the cute, nerdy boy.
He has actually a character. He
has like a character. He has growth, and I honestly do like his like character trope of just like he's really into the book side of hunting, basically. Yeah. Like he's into like learning.
Well, he went to school, right? He's a lawyer.
Yeah, he was like the young innocent guy who was like being dragged into this life by his brother, and he didn't want to, but like he knew that he had to do it, kind of, which like hot.
The unwilling participant.
You know, when you put it like that, it's not.
I think he gets more ass than Dean in the show overall.
But I think the biggest problem with Sam is that when the show shifts tones into being like just like they have to be caricatures of themselves, Sam's character it doesn't really have anything to be a caricature of, like unless they want to make him like a mega nerd, which they try to
actually had depth before.
Yeah, which they try to do with Sam, except for that. Like you can't really make him like this mega nerd character when he's like this giant like fucking buff ass dude who like I feel like just like from the perspective of like watching him, you're like, I don't know, he looks like a fucking brick wall. Like you're telling me he just spends his days with his nose in books. I don't believe you.
So you see that a lot too. A lot of what they did in the early seasons, which they don't do anymore. They used to show like Sam and Dean actually like how they're doing credit card scams. There's struggles with pretending to be an FBI agent, and I get that they get past those things, but it's like they would show them like working out and like practicing fighting. Like that shit I feel like added so much like authenticity to the show and like the world building and like, and they don't do that, which is fine, but it's like it's just a given now. It's just I guess you just assume they do this on the side even though they're not. My favorite of Sam though is like the first couple seasons, and then I think even though he has nothing to do, I think the most they give him to do is maybe like these like season 13, season 14 when he becomes like the leader of the hunters. That's like the most I felt like, oh, this would make sense for Sam. Like I can kind of, he feels comfortable here. Yeah. Where he's like directing people and like leading them, like inspiring.
See, the thing is, I think it's hard for me because I don't think Sam's really naturally an inspiring character.
No.
Like I think.
But he's supposed to be, right? He's supposed to be the one that can like convince people when Dean can't with his fists.
Sam for me is like the emotional one who like, I really enjoyed his like, the complexity of his character and the depth of his character in the first few seasons. Yeah. Because like, it was really interesting and it was fun to watch him like really struggle with the fact that he wasn't normal and there was something wrong with him and like Lucifer like wanted him and stuff like that. And I thought that was really interesting. I liked the episode where like him and all the other like kids like him are all like in the whatever place and they have to like kill each other.
When he was a psychic, that was really good.
That was fun. And then
they could have brought that back, but they didn't.
Yeah, I loved that episode. I thought it was such a good episode.
That was one of the best episodes I think of the series.
Yeah, I know.
Next
I was absolutely
to the
obsessed with it. The French Mistake is so good. Oh my god. But no, that was really good. And I liked when he sort of like comes to the conclusion, like, okay, so not everything who's supernatural is bad. Like, look, these people are like me, Dean. Like, we can't just kill them because they don't understand it. Like, imagine if my power was that, maybe I wouldn't understand it. Would you kill me? And I think that's really good. I like him being the heart and the voice of reason. But I almost like, I don't think he needs to be like the leader character. I think he almost needs to be, he does need to be Dean's second in command because I think that Dean is the presence that like people listen to and he's the one who you want to like fight for. Like Dean is the one who you want to like, I feel like go into battle with.
Dean's like, I think Dean is the main character of the series.
For sure.
Even though they kind of think it's going to be Sam at the start.
Definitely.
Which is crazy to me. Well, like, not crazy to me, but it's like, I feel like they would have cast it the other way around. But
Dean's the bad boy and Sam's the good boy, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the twist, right? Is that Sam's Lucifer's vessel and Dean's Michael's vessel, even though Dean's the bad boy and Sam's the good guy.
Yeah. Should we move into Dean then?
Yeah, we can go into Dean. He's one of my favorite characters. Just because I think he's so like, I just think Jensen Ackles is so good in that role.
Yeah, I do.
He just slips
Dean
in like
Dean is one of my favorite characters for sure. I think at the start I didn't like Dean because he was like when I watched it initially I loved Dean, but when I rewatched
he's
it,
like he's the comic relief kind of, right? Like,
well, in the first season he's just like very sexist and like kind of a dick, and I'm like, oh, this character is hard for me to watch because like they make him better even throughout the first season, but I'm like, it's really hard for me to watch you just be like super sexist and like rude. Yeah, it's like not hot,
like Barney Stinson style from
And then like I sort of like grow to like him, and he is like definitely more caricaturizable. So like
I love pie and sleeping with woods,
women and burgers
in my car.
And golly gee, do I love my car.
Like, that's fine. I think like once it gets to that point, like I know what to expect. I'm like, okay.
I also think like because Jensen Ackles is objectively a better actor than
he's just charismatic.
Then Jared Padalecki, they can give him a lot more stuff to do.
Yes, totally.
So like Dean's character gets to be played with a lot more because
like he's a demon.
Jensen Ackles can carry that kind of a role.
Yeah, and Jared can't. Whatever.
Yeah.
But Dean gets to be like a demon, and he gets to be Michael for a bit, and I think he's really a job.
He gets the mark of
like
Cain
a villain
for a while, which like I found a boring storyline, but still like
it was a boring storyline. I like when he's like when they. That's a fun thing too with like the possessions, like the angels, is like the actors get to play different people.
Yeah, and I mean like I think another thing that I read that I like about Dean is he's very like rough around the edges. Like he's a really like he's a character that you like. I think from a creative standpoint almost, and from a viewer standpoint, because you can play with him so much and you can like sort of mold him as you go throughout the show because he's not a complete person yet. Like when you watch him in the first season, you know that
there's
like
so much ground.
There's so much you can do. You can add in so much backstory that like.
I like the flashback episodes too when they're like following their dad on hunts. Those are always fun. They do a good job of casting their kid selves mostly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know what you mean.
I do like the guy who plays young Dean, Dylan Everett.
He's on Winging It from Family Channel.
Yeah. Yep. That's true. He's also.
I recognized him immediately. Don't worry.
I recognized him from Degrassi, actually.
Oh, right. He's Canadian, right?
Yep. From Toronto. But yeah, no, like there's just a lot to play with Dean as a character. Like you can add so much to him. Whereas like when they introduce a character like Sam, he is the main character of the first few seasons. And the thing about a character like that is because you're the main character, you're the most thought out character. So it's kind of boring. You don't have as much room to grow.
He just is like a complete person by the end of it. Almost.
Whereas like Dean is like, you can work with him so much. Like you can change so much about him that like from a viewer standpoint and from a creative standpoint, he's more fun to have and he's way more interesting to watch and compelling to make.
Yeah, definitely. I think he definitely carries the show for like
a lot of it. Yeah, I also have a lot of respect for Dean's character by the end of the show because like you see like he basically is just like he's defined by being the dutiful older brother who like he has to take care of Sam and he has to do this and he has to do that, and I think it's really interesting
It's
to
very
like
self-hatred, like you can really see that. I think
he doesn't.
that's the one of the few things that repeat.
I think he thinks that like
consistently.
I think he basically thinks by the end of it, like, I've ruined my brother's life by bringing him into this, and like I need to like make sure that Sam gets what Sam wants, and like he's just like. And I mean, Sam sort of suffers from being just the younger child and not having that, but Dean like carries this like responsibility for Sam that I think is like something that I really respect watching in the character.
I see that
it's
from
annoying,
Dean's end, but I think I get annoyed when I don't see that from Sam's end. Like, I don't know, like yeah, Dean cares about his older brother, wants to save him all the time.
His younger brother.
Or sorry, his younger brother wants to save him all. His taller brother.
Hey, the younger one is always taller, okay?
I know, you're right. Sorry. I'm so stupid.
I think I see Sam being grateful for Dean sometimes, but I also see him being frustrated.
He forgets about Dean sometimes. Like, Dean is not the center of Sam's focus, but Dean is always the center of.
But Sam is always the center of Dean's
Sam's
focus.
always, yeah.
I think what's also interesting, though, is, like, I do think Sam suffers from just being the younger child in the dynamic, because I think in general, the younger child is the one who's, like, being protected and taken care of. And from an audience standpoint, that can be really annoying. Because, like, you're like, ugh, like, I like this character better. It's like, Sam didn't necessarily have the same amount of pressure that, like, Dean had to be put on him to take care of Dean. Like, Dean from their dad was, like, take care of Sammy, like, make sure he's okay. And so it's kind of like how he was raised, whereas, Sam was raised
Dean
in a
is
different
Sam's
way.
father.
Yeah.
Which they adjust in a couple episodes. And then retcon on a few others.
Which is, like,
it's hard to know where they really stand.
A really hot like thing that they do with I feel like a lot of bad boy characters where they're like
I guess
it's
it's also kind of a trope. It's like the older sibling is like
it's like the parent. Yeah,
I like that. I like when like that's like acknowledged and like it's so sweet and like that's a really Castiel.
I had a lot to write about Dean and Joe's relationship at the beginning if you wanted to just talk about it. Then I was going to talk about because the order I did it is like I do the character and then I do the relationships that they have.
Fine.
But we can talk about Castiel first if you want.
They didn't have a relationship, but go ahead.
It's fine.
No, they talked about it. Sorry.
You're so mad.
You go ahead with Joe, who you think is Dean's leading love interest. I'll sit back here with Castiel. Don't mind me.
Well, she's less important. I feel like you talk about Castiel after because she's a less important character.
We already talked about Joe. Go ahead. What could you possibly have to say? That Castiel hasn't done 10 times over for Dean.
Okay. I really liked her character. I was really sad. I think for me, she was one of my favorite female characters in the show.
Yeah.
I was really sad at how little screen time she got for the show because I thought she was like one of the few characters where like when I watched her interact with Dean, I felt a lot of chemistry. It's like I liked that relationship, but I also felt like she was actively being set up as someone who was a match to him.
Yeah.
Which I like enjoy.
Yeah, she was really
character.
being set up.
So like she was being set up in this way where she's his love interest, but it's like at the end of season 2 or something like that. And then people hated her, so like they switched it. But like when it came to their relationship, I like to see like this like she's a very strong, independent character.
What could have been, man, if they had actually let that?
I think what's
like,
really frustrating to me is like there is like what could have been perspective that's like really upsetting because
and like they never bring her back, which feels kind of egregious for a show that brings Lily
and they kind of like play it down as like, oh no, he just saw her as like a little sister, but it's like no, he was actively flirting on with her all the time. Like
I mean, I always kind of saw it as I don't think he maybe reciprocated. Like I think she was supposed to be a little bit younger and very much into Dean.
Yeah,
but I love the trope where like the younger girl, like you know, it's like oh little sister vibes, but it's like not little sister vibes,
I think
but it's like I
she
see
was,
her as like a like.
I think she was more into him when they meet than he's into her. But
yeah.
What I enjoy about
like
it is
the naive
she
girlhood crush on like the older guy,
but she also
like then it's reciprocated.
She
it's,
also
like, really satisfied.
I mean, yeah, and he's kind of like. He kind of even admits in the first episode, like when she says, like, oh, you're not like most of the hunters who come in here. Like, most guys would, like, buy me, like, a beer and, like, some pickup line about, like, Led Zeppelin.
You're
and he's
16.
like,
I'm not doing that.
And
now.
he's like, oh, no, I would never. And then he's like, to be honest, I definitely would. But I'm in kind of a bad place right now, basically, is what he says.
Well, that's what it felt like, too. Like, it felt like the second that Dean... Like, it felt like the only reason they weren't together was because Dean wasn't looking for... Like, he's a ladies' man. He's on the road. He's figuring out his own shit. He has problems. And I think that was resolved, he would have opened himself up to Joe.
Well, because they met and his dad had just died. So, like, he was in kind of a like, he says, because they meet in season 2, and I believe his dad has just like died or something, like given up his life for Dean's or whatever, or I don't know when it was, maybe it was season 3, it was something along those lines, but I think it's something like that. And I remember thinking like, basically he said like, oh shit, like if I was like not mourning this terrible loss, I probably would be hitting on you right now, which I think is really interesting.
Like, oh, that's so sweet.
But I like that like her crush on him is never like sort of like doe-eyed, like I'm in love with you. It's more just like, yeah, like I like this person, but also like I understand that he's kind of a dick. I think she like learned to like respect him
for him, I think they say at some point.
Yeah, but I think like it's like an interesting like dynamic of like she also kind of like acknowledges that she's just got really bad taste in guys, and she thinks that it's a mistake to like be into him at all.
Yeah, true.
And like, but I like the way that they like interact, because I think that they have a good like like they go toe to toe on like a lot of things where I feel like
she's like also very stubborn.
Yes.
And Dean is very stubborn.
And like
to a fury in around.
I think like he kind of like, if I was gonna put Dean with someone, I would put him with someone who's very similar to him in that sense, because he needs someone who can match the level of like stubbornness and like will that he has. And I also thought it's perfect because she's a hunter and he's a hunter, so they could have just sort of like she could have come in and out of like she could have come in and out of episodes like they kind of just like had like an on again off again relationship where like she joins them for a few episodes and then it's like, okay, I'm gonna go off on my own now, and like it's like they
could have brought him back when they want her to.
Like they set it up in a way where it's like she can be in as many or as little episodes as you want, but you've set up a love interest that like there's some romantic subplot for this character. If they had her around,
there'd be less Destiel shipping.
Yeah.
That's on them. Don't kill off your cool female characters.
Because I think I said I would have been okay with like 2 options. Like they explored the relationship more in the first few seasons, and then she and her mother die in the season 5 finale, and it's like the emotional weight of it is like so much more, because like they're more than just like these characters we saw 4 times. It's like, oh, this was someone who you had a deep emotional connection with, so I really feel it when she dies, and this is really upsetting, and we don't need to bring her back, that's fine, and you can just like kind of mourn that loss. Or like the show's the same until the season 5 finale, and maybe like she doesn't die, like instead of like her just like dying, and then maybe like after like Sam dies in the season 5 finale, like instead of Dean going to Lisa, who's some random ass bitch,
that's
they could like explore a relationship that like is like based off of like
Dean
the post.
So weird
like I really didn't
is it his kid? No, right? They established it.
She said no. He was just her type basically. But I think like
but it also abandons this kid, right? Like
it's
and they're never brought up again.
What I was thinking is, if after season 5, instead of Dean going to Lisa, some random ass character we saw once, like Joe doesn't die, maybe her mom is the one who like dies, then I think that would be interesting. But I do all in all.
It was like shocking to see them both die. I did definitely. It felt off. It was like, oh, like this is a lot.
Yeah,
this is a lot of like fine. This feels like they weren't done yet.
Because I kind of felt like I needed either like the emotional gravity of like Joe, like maybe like it almost would have been good for the fangirls too, because it's like they showed a relationship of her and Dean, but then like she dies, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like it's over. But like
at least they had written her out a little bit to take a break, maybe if it was getting too crazy.
But like the emotional weight of like her death would have just been like, and I mean I already felt it, but it would just been like tenfold for me if like they had this like deep emotional, this like deep relationship that like they never. Because they never explored it beforehand, and I think it would have been interesting if like they did that and then she died. Because I also would have found that a satisfying ending. Like he had this like love, he had this like relationship,
or like hope at least,
or like hope of one. Yeah, they had something going on, but it just like they didn't have enough time. And like I honestly don't think that relationship would have lasted. I think it would have been one of those like you burn bright and you burn out fast kind of things. Yeah, because I think they're very like they'd kill each other,
like chaos together. Yeah.
But I think it would have been like a really interesting and fun relationship to watch unfold.
I don't think they were like endgame for sure, but like I think she was definitely giving me more long-standing love interest.
I wanted it to be like sort of just to show also like opportunities of like Dean's emotionally like vulnerable side and like who he is as a person outside of just like him and his brother,
because he never like really dates anyone otherwise.
Because I also think she could have been a good proponent for like character growth.
Have, like girlfriends, which is like Ruby is the most like relationship they get.
Yeah,
is for Sam. Yeah, And like I guess Cass, if you count that.
And yeah, there would have been less of the Castiel stuff because he would have had a love interest.
A toxic symbiotic relationship. What can you do?
So like so I was just really frustrated with that, and I kind of wanted to talk about my rewrite of like how I would have liked to see it in a satisfying way where he doesn't have to end up with Joe. He doesn't have to end up with anyone. But I think like their relationship was so unfinished that it really upsets me. Because there's nothing I hate more than an unfinished story.
That's just the show, I feel like. As people get killed before they're like nothing's ever like satisfyingly wrapped up. Well, like I'd mention like Charlie and Kevin too are both deaths. We're like, why? Why did you just randomly kill these characters?
To
bring them back later on as like their alternate selves. Like there's no reason for it feels like just for shock value. I don't know. And they're also like your representative character, like your token whatever gay Asian character at that point, your token gay character at that point. Yeah. It feels so like weird and cheap and random, and it's like who's making the decisions and why?
Yeah, I just think from a storytelling perspective, I get really frustrated. Like after they did that with her and Dean, I was like, okay, I don't want love interest in this show because it's just gonna all that's gonna happen is I'm gonna be really disappointed and really upset.
That's why I feel like it's easier to stick to the procedural shit because you know it's gonna go.
I was like after how badly they flopped that relationship, I was like, just don't do it. Don't even try anymore.
Don't try any relationship.
Because you did so...
No, the relationship sucked.
You had no balls and, like, you didn't...
That's exactly how I feel. It's like, after season 5, I'm like, no, like, don't give them girlfriends.
Don't bother. Don't even try.
Keep it the same. It's fine. It's the same every episode.
It's like a apathetic, pissed off. Now, should we get to Dean's bigger love interest? His long-term love interest of Castiel?
Okay. Here's my first axe to grind with Castiel.
Okay.
I don't like anytime any angel is being really heteronormative, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Because angels don't have genders. Angels, but that's even the thing with Destiel. It's not even really a gay the angels aren't supposed to be men, or they're supposed to be these spiritual beings that possess whatever vessel they find, be it man, woman, non-binary.
Yeah.
So to me, it's weird for Castiel. That's like the one thing I would say about Destiel is like, okay, fine, he loves Dean. I'll make that. That's like that makes sense because it's like, oh, I love this person. And that's what it feels like to me. It feels very deep and emotional.
I have the same feeling you do, where basically to me, Castiel is it should be like gender neutral.
Yeah.
Because he's an angel.
Yeah,
so
and
like,
they've established he can possess anyone. Angels can represent themselves as any gender.
But fine, he decided he wants to be like a man. He wants to be a man. Fine, I'll accept that. The fact that they try to make Castiel a straight man on top of that, wild to me.
When they do the episode where Castiel loses his virginity, fucking cut that shit out. I'm so over it. That's not him. That's not Castiel.
No,
Castiel's like he's supposed to be like a priest. Like
I wanted Castiel.
You don't have energy for that. You're not thinking about sex like you're a spiritual person or like whatever. They could give him that, but like don't cheese it in like some rite of passage that you need to lose your virginity to a one night stand.
Starts watching like a bunch of like porn and then like has sex.
It's
I think
so
it's like
cheap.
A really creepy route to take him down because of the character that they've created. That's so like wholesome and like he's a puppy, like he's like a puppy, he's like child basically. And then they're like, oh, he's also like super into porn and he's gonna fuck this random girl. And I'm like, what? So I don't like that. I think he should be either like I honestly thought he should be like an asexual character.
Yeah.
Like he's maybe in love with Dean, that's like, but like he's not like, doesn't feel sexual attraction. He just like is like in love with this person. Cause he obviously does very much love him and that's fine. And he can have a deep emotional, even romantic relationship with him. But he doesn't like want it to be physical. And that kind of works for their relationship.
Michael is now they're hooking up. Cause he's an angel.
Even Lucifer jokes when he conceives Jack. I just lost my virginity, like, which I think is hilarious.
I think it's fine for like the other angel characters are supposed to be like more like supposed to have be like a more dimension. Like I think for Lucifer it's okay because it's like he's the devil.
I thought that was a really funny thing.
I thought it was really funny. I thought that was Castiel can't say he's a virgin. It's crazy to me.
Like I thought it was hilarious when Lucifer did that. I honestly thought Lucifer would have been out there banging way before, but I thought it was a really funny scene. I think it was really gross the way they approached Castiel's virginity and like
I think it was a disservice to the character.
His like foray into like sexual relationships, because I also think fine, Castiel, you want him to be a sexual character, maybe I could do that. I don't think he's just straight.
Anyway, it just that's super weird to me.
He's probably one of my favorite characters though. Like he is like the comic relief of the show, and I do think he's like really entertaining to watch. I think Misha Collins is a really good actor. Like, I actually think he does a really good job.
You know what I love about Misha Collins? Okay, this is another thing. I guess it's more of a Lucifer take, but I love in season, I think it's 11, where they are able to, and I didn't think they were going to get Mark Pellegrino back for Lucifer for like the entire series, and they gave it to Misha Collins for like when Castiel's possessed by Lucifer. That was so fun. And I thought Misha really Collins fucking deserves that. He deserves to go crazy and like have fun with his acting after playing this stiff-ass, grunty character.
And I feel like that really showed, really well. Honestly, like Misha Collins' like acting abilities.
That was like, so Misha Collins versus what he's like as Castiel. Like, I was like, oh, I just feel like you can do this. So like, good. I would have been okay with him being that for a lot longer.
Yeah. I did like when he came back to being Castiel, because obviously I missed Cass.
Yeah, Cass is cute.
And Cass is really cute, and I think he has a fun dynamic with Dean and with Sam that's fun.
What's also crazy to me is if Castiel's like, his thing with Dean is like, oh, I know I'll never be with you because like you don't like men. And it's like, well, you could just possess a woman. So this feels like a moot point.
I think
that's what I mean. Like, he's just,
no, I think for Castiel, like, so they basically like canonically say that Castiel's in love with Dean at some point, don't they?
Yeah, he confesses his love to Dean.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought.
They also canonically basically say that Dean is into Castiel.
Do they?
There's an episode, I don't know if you've seen this one, where he's confessing in a booth about his repressed emotions, and he gets into like, he's super fucking gay what he says. He's like, oh, like I have these feelings that I've never experienced before, and I might be dabbling and trying them for the first time. Or like, you have to see this clip. It's like, no, it's in the series, and it's like whistleblowing to, I feel like, people saying maybe Dean is gay.
I think.
And he like basically is like, yeah, I have one person in mind that I want to try new experiences with and like dabble in feelings I've never felt before.
Jeez.
It's kind of intense.
I gotta look it up after.
But yeah.
But no, I think that aside, I feel like for Castiel, it's not that he doesn't think Dean will be attracted to him. I feel like it's more that like he's like, this is like my deep friendship, and like there's like all this these other factors. Like I don't think he thinks that he should like enter into a relationship.
I'm a being and you're like a human.
Yeah, and that's probably not cool.
Yeah,
no risk of fair. No risk of getting him pregnant though, so that's nice.
That's nice.
I do think Dean and Castiel's relationship is very sweet to me though. Like a lot of the time, I think it's
sort of from a friendship level.
It's a very like sweet, and like a lot of the time,
I wish they did something with it.
Relationship.
Didn't even have to be romantic, but they didn't do anything with it.
No, I think they should have done stuff with it. Like I also think like, I think I've said this to you before, but I think it would be interesting if like Castiel had maybe like confessed a love for Dean that he had way earlier on in the show, and Dean just kind of like wasn't able to like reciprocate that, and it would have been this sort of unspoken but like true like thing that they like know is between them, or like that Castiel knows, at least like to like sort of give us something, like to sort of say like, oh yeah, like obviously there is this side of the relationship, but like Dean won't accept it, and that's like something that I could live with as like as a way of doing it, you know what I mean? And I feel like they don't do that. I guess they do the scene where
I just feel like it should have been addressed, and it just wasn't.
There's the fun scene where Sam gets mad at Castiel for not coming when he calls, and then Cass says, well, Dean and I have a much more profound relationship.
Cass doesn't come out of my ass, don't you, Cass? He's like, well, I've never been in your ass. And they're like, yeah. So a lot of that.
But I just think that the fact that they like refuse to have either of these characters be anything but straight is like,
even like they say God had a couple boyfriends. He's like, oh, what have you been up to? Had a couple girlfriends, had a couple boyfriends.
Because like they already also like play up that like Dean's uncomfortable with Cass's like demeanor towards him. Maybe like they could just make it more romantic. Well, it would have been okay as
well if they just like flanderized the shit out of it. If they just tripled down on it, and it was like every joke was just like that they're basically a couple. And they're just an old married, but they're friends. But like the joke is that they're an old married couple or something. Like even if they had like maybe done that, or it's like so on the nose, it's like, okay, they're actually not.
Yeah.
So I feel like they just like teetered the slime where it was just always sexual tension between them, or like always romantic tension, or like always.
I almost would have wanted them to build more of the tension and then release it with something.
I think also it could have been really fun if they were just like
dated. They just fucked.
They just dated, but like if at least. I don't know, like there's so many jokes and like things, like they could have at least like they could have done so many like sitcom-y trope episodes where they're doing like the
but like they already play around with the fact that like Dean is uncomfortable with how like close to like Cass always wants to be and stuff like that. I feel like they could
he's worried
really,
that Cass is in love with him, which he
because
is.
I feel like they could really amp that up. But I think if they like actually played it up that way, that would be a really interesting way to play it, where it's like maybe it is a one-sided love romance, but like it's fine if it is. Like it's fine if it just is that Castiel's in love with Dean and Dean is straight. Like I'm okay with that as a
I think it's
character
also, like,
plot
the
line.
more they deny it, the more I want to believe it.
Yeah.
It's like the more that Dean's like, I'm not gay. I'm like, you say that a lot. Like maybe you are.
Yeah, no homo, but
Yeah.
I want to fuck my friend really bad.
It's like it's okay. Like it's okay if you are.
Yeah,
You can just say that. Like it's you don't have to like deny.
I think it would be fine
People
if he was.
People who are straight don't feel like they need to deny.
I feel
it
like
as
I'm
much,
approaching it from
Which is,
the
like,
perspective
fine.
of like the writers are never gonna make Dean gay, so
Yeah.
fine, they're not gonna do that. Like, why can't Castiel sort of be the one propelling this relationship in a way that's like,
or maybe
romantic.
at least at least it could have been like it could have been this like even if it's not an aversion to like a romantic relationship with a man, it could have been like at least like a commentary on like male friendships and having deep male friendships. And it could have been like maybe follow a lot of similar tropes and milestones, but it could have better served maybe like Dean accepting how to like open up to like other people and to like open up to like other like men and
Yeah.
form friends and form deep connections with not just Sam.
Yeah.
That could have been interesting too.
been
And like
interesting.
Castiel being like a ethereal being would have been a good catalyst for like not understanding all of these defense mechanisms. Like, well, what do you mean it's weird to talk about this? Like, why would it be?
yeah, because I
Like-
think the Castiel already does that. Like he kind of
Yeah.
does present that character.
He's
where
a
it's
good
like,
foil to Dean for that. I
oh,
think.
like I
'Cause he's
don't understand.
naive and he is curious and he's questioning everything.
Yeah, and
Anyways.
then I think I wrote in season 12, Castiel like it says that he like loves like Dean and Sam and Mary for some reason, which seems
Seems
annoying.
like a lie,
But like
he said that just to
basically,
make Dean
I
happy,
think
but
he's
okay.
he's dying for them, and he's like saying that he loves them, and I think that would have been a really good scene for Castiel to say specifically to Dean, like I really love you, like you're really important to me, because I think that could have been a really big emotional moment for
Well,
them.
they do that.
That would have like, but like instead of like, because he comes back right after that, I think what would have been really great about that is that he comes back and they have to deal with the fallout of that. Like I want to see them deal with the fallout of like Cass doing some
they
sort of
purposely
brand
that so it
profession.
never happened.
And like even in season 13, like Dean is like basically depressed until Castiel comes back. Like he's like I can't do anything until Castiel
Sorry,
is back.
the main message of this show is if anyone you love dies or goes missing for a while, be depressed and suicidal until they return to you.
Yeah. Well, except for that, I feel like Dean
Don't work on
'cause
yourself.
when Sam
Don't move
died-
past it.
when Sam
Don't
died-
grieve. Just fight
well no
for
because
it to be different.
the first time it happened when Sam dies at the end of season
Yeah.
5, Dean like moves on
He accepts
and
it and
creates a
goes.
life and accepts it.
But that's before they're coming back to life. Like
Castiel dies and Dean thinks there's nothing I can do and he refuses to accept it. And I think it's a really telling of like
yeah.
basically how dependent he's become on this person, to the extent that like it hits him even harder than like when his own brother died and he was the only person in his life,
Yeah.
that like his best friend is like gone, and like
Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes Cass dies and he has like no reaction.
Cass hasn't died that many times.
He does a few times.
He softens Dean, which I think is like why they work as a dynamic.
Yeah. But they always separate them. In the last seasons, they keep them separated because they don't want Destiel to come back. That's why they do it.
It's
not
just
sad.
like-
Isn't that so sad?
Every time I like
and
look at
so
it,
like
I'm just like
disappointing
no
and
balls.
shitty. Yeah, that's the thing. No ball. Even.
It's like you can't even put
We'll
the
talk about
characters.
this
You're
season
afraid to
finale.
put the characters together because you're afraid the fans will be too into it. As
I'm
a
sorry,
dynamic.
Supernatural. The only fans watching your show past season 10 are the fans that want to see Destiel
The only
happen.
fans watching your show past season like 4 are the fans that want to see Destiel happen. What the fuck are you talking about? Like past season like 5.
The
Like,
second Castiel shows up, Destiel's happening. I'm sorry.
like anyone who watches the show past the original finale of season 5, like or past season 6 maybe, because like maybe they gave it a shot. They're the ones who want Destiel to happen, and that's the only reason your show is still going on, is because people wanted Destiel to happen so bad that they watched 15 seasons, 10 seasons of crap.
what would you have thought about Crowley?
Oh, I didn't like it.
Okay, what about Crowley?
Just as a character?
Yeah, let's talk about him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. I don't know why. I like couldn't grasp what you were saying.
No, it's fine. I was really
Um,
sneaky.
I like Crowley a lot. I think he was a really fun character that like
Mark Shepherd is really good.
he did such
He's
a
in
good job
Firefly.
with that character.
He's in a lot of nerdy shit. So
I think he did such a good job with Crowley, and I think the way that Crowley's portrayed in the show is really cool too, because he's the king of hell, but he's like, it's a different kind of hell. Like,
I like that he's kind of just like a businessman.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, he's not really into like, I don't really need to kill. Like, he doesn't want to cause harm really, but he will if it like
I think he likes
he
it.
understands that it's like a means towards an ends. But like, yeah, he doesn't.
He likes
do
power.
It.
He wants power. That's
He
what
won't
wants.
kill you if he can make a deal with you instead, which I really respect. And I think that's like a really cool.
I like his friendship.
There's a reason why he's the king of hell.
I like his friendship with Dean and Sam. But
him and
mostly
Dean,
with
I think, are also a really cute duo. I know they're on STL,
but I don't think.
But
him
they're
and
like
Dean have
buddies, and I think Crowley is into Dean. Who isn't, I guess, into Dean?
I guess I think like for me, I think Crowley and Dean are genuinely a well pulled off friendship. Like I do think that's a good like bro-y relationship. That's like fun to watch. Whereas like with Castiel, they add so much emotional shit that like it doesn't feel like a friendship anymore.
Well, with that's the thing. I think with Crowley, they lean into it, and they go, and he goes, "Oh, like my little pet, like you're my best friend. Are we gonna be best friends yet?" Like Crowley talks to him like that,
Yeah.
like as if he would talk to like a lover, and they like.
Oh, see,
they,
I
like,
feel
hyper
like
do that.
I feel like Crowley.
Like that's his character.
Crowley's
He's
just very
fucking with
flirty,
him.
but I feel
Yeah.
like Crowley's more flirty with like Sam than I think he is with Dean. Like I think
Oh, him and Dean have like a whole summer of
him
love.
and Dean have
And
like
he calls it that, like a summer of love with
yeah,
Dean.
that's true.
Like he lays it on super thick with Dean.
No, I do
and I think that's what deters like the shipping. It's like, oh, like no, they're trying to, like if they had done that, like, the fact that Cassie, I think that they were strain it so much. That's what adds the tension.
Yeah,
that's
the tension.
basically math.
Did you say math?
So that's basically math.
No, yeah,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
but like, yeah, and I mean, like, you can kind of like tell that Crowley's not serious because he also does flirt with Sam a lot. I think he like talks about
but
what a
like,
gorgeous man Sam is, basically.
yeah, you know, like there's no room for interpretation with Crowley, I guess. Whereas
there's a lot of room for interpretation
But,
with STL.
I really like Crowley. He also was done dirty.
Sorry, how do you feel about Crestiel?
I would have been fine with it.
Crowstiel, is that what?
I think
Crusty.
like it would have been fun if they'd hooked up once, like a one night stand, and then like
Okay.
Crowley kind of like teased him about it. He was like, like you know what I mean? I don't know. It's fine.
That's
And then
so nice.
I would have been okay with that because they're both not supposed to have genders.
I mean,
And it
Crowley
makes
is a
sense.
boy. No, he does have a gender. Like,
I guess he was like a boy.
he was
boy.
birthed
He was like a boy
as a man.
You're right,
Like he could choose,
but
not
he's
to have
definitely
one.
not like a straight man.
No.
Right? He like
I like that all the evil
dalliances.
characters are basically just like super sexually
they're
free.
just really progressive. The demons are just really
yeah. It's like they're all
they're
like
fighting for that liberal agenda of
down for whatever, whereas all the like good characters are like very straight.
yeah. Well, the angels are evil. That is something I like about the show too. The angels are evil.
The
I
angels
feel like
are
that was a
evil.
new.
Everyone's
idea at the
evil
time.
except for Sam and Dean.
It's very like yeah.
But if
Who are
everyone else
gray.
is evil, are you really the good guy?
But if the good guys are doing evil things,
Yeah.
what does that mean? That's the
Um,
questions the show asks but never answers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I had to say about Crowley. I just like Crowley.
What about Benny?
His Dean's vampire friend?
Yeah, his side piece.
Oh, I didn't find him that memorable. Did you?
Me
have a lot to say
neither.
about him?
I didn't know where to put him on my list of favorites. I thought he was kind of cool. Like I remember him being like having a cool personality and being a cool addition, but I also remember being really bored in a lot of his scenes.
I think the thing about Benny is like he was an interesting character for what he did, and I didn't need to see him really further than that.
I thought Dean in Purgatory was a plotline I really liked. So I think that helped. I think it was like
It's
fun.
interesting that
It
all
was
the
an
extra
interesting
characters are
place.
basically just Dean's friends. Like Sam doesn't have any friends. Sam and Charlie, I
Sam
guess.
makes friends with girls who they don't respect, so they don't actually get plots with them.
Yeah, that's true. Because Sam's closest friend, or Sam's only really
Charlie.
friend, is Charlie, who comes back and forth.
And Eileen a little bit. And then like
Eileen.
Jody, I guess.
Jody's friends with
Sheriff
both of
Mills.
them, though.
Sheriff Mills is fun too. I think she's a fun character.
But like, I would say they're friends with both of them. Whereas like Dean, like most of the characters who come back are like the ones who Dean has created relationships with.
you're right. They all meet them both and prefer Dean. Which is
Sam has to, like-
same.
Sam has to like convince them to like not be pissed at Dean, and then they all prefer Dean to Sam by
Yeah.
the end.
They respect him more.
Yeah. The only other character I had notes
Sam's
on
his
with
secretary.
was Jack.
I
But
like
do-
Jack.
Jack is a character I like. The problem with a character like Jack, this is my problem with him, is he's like just the most powerful being, basically. Like they've just created the most
but
powerful
he's-
being.
Yeah.
And then you could make it interesting by like the seasons that he's in Like, don't have him come to his full potential of his powers for a while.
Really took his grace away.
Like, get him to learn them for a while first. But he seems to get a handle on his powers pretty quickly, and then they just take them away instead of just, like, having a season of, like, developing his ability to use them and not understanding them. Like, because that could have been interesting if they had prolonged that a little bit. But
if he just couldn't
they're,
use them at the... Well, they needed it for plot.
But, like, they just take it away then when, like, they need him to be... And so that's why I find those characters really annoying. Because it's like, you can't just be an all-powerful being and then, like, randomly your powers go away. So, like, in the finale, they're just like, oh, well, he's too drained right now to do anything. And I'm like, fucking Christ.
Fair enough.
And his only possible ending, I think, was the ending that he got.
Yeah, no, for sure. He was always going to become God.
Like, he was basically...
They literally say it when he's being, like...
He was basically created
like,
for that purpose.
They're like, oh, he'll have the same power as God.
Like, the character, not,
okay, well,
not
I guess
Lucifer creating him, but the writers basically created him for that purpose.
No, and honestly, I think Jack is a really good addition to the show.
Oh, no, I like him a lot as a character.
Perfectly.
I really enjoy...
It's a good, like, okay, it's stepping into, like, now they're kind of father figures.
Yeah, I know. I really
like
enjoy Jack as a character.
They don't do anything with it. I like it.
I just think the problem with introducing a character like that is that, like, you're just
a little too OP.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's the classic person. I guess it's also a trope. He's like the superhero. Like, he is the OP superpower. Like, has the OP superpowers.
I just
could end the world in a snap, but like he's too naive and undertrained.
Well, that's the thing.
To
is
like know how to use it. So that's how it's
They don't prolong that though. They're just like, he knows how to do it. And then they take his powers away instead of just like prolonging the idea that like he doesn't know
I don't think he knows how to do it. They like he does it kind of out of emotional outbursts.
No, but like I feel
and then when they try to get him to do it again, he can't.
No, but I feel like like at least at the point I'm at, it's like I feel like he's gotten a grasp on like how his powers work, like he understands how to use them. And instead of like building on that, anytime they need him to be weak, they just say, "Oh, you're human. Like you're human now," or like you can't use your powers now. And it's like, okay, well, like that's not really like that's not like enough. Like you need to like just basically make him like still too naive and too unsure to like be able to use his powers until he finally like needs to be able to use them fully. Or like maybe he loses his powers once, but don't like do it
sight longer than like an episode, so they don't know. Like
it's just really frustrating when they do that because I'm like, you could make this a long storyline.
Well, you know what too. Well, they'll finally find this secret magical weapon that's going to defeat the big bad, but for X, Y, and Z, they need to use it for something else, or it gets stolen, or it gets destroyed, and now they can't. And so it's like within that episode, and it's like, okay, well, like, what was the point of this?
Like they'll build a whole season trying to find a weapon, find the weapon, lose it within the episode, and then be like, I guess we're starting from scratch, and it's 2 episodes from the finale, and you're like, fucking Christ,
all the time. I was like, okay, whatever. I think it's season 11 as well. I think I do really like season 11, where they have Team Free Will, they form it again, and it's they like, oh, we don't have the Archangels, let's put together. They have Chuck, they have Rowena, Crowley.
I love Rowena.
Yeah, Rowena's my favorite character. Anytime she's on screen, I'm electrified. She's so adorable. She does everything she needs to do. I kind of ship her and Sam, but I won't elaborate. It's just based off chemistry.
Yeah.
And I think Sam could go for an older woman. I feel like that's his vibe.
I also think that.
I love her. And I really like her relationship with Crowley. I thought it's fun. I like that she's just like, no, I don't give a shit about you.
Yeah.
We're colleagues. Kind of. I don't know. She's like, it's very complicated between the two of them. And I think
I really also
they do a good job of like intentionally not addressing it.
I also think Rowena is like a mildly complex character. Like, I do think she actually has layers to her character.
No, I love her story. She's a peasant girl in, like, the 17th century. She's, like, a white trash girl from nothing that, like
built her way up.
Yeah, that's a girl power, like, feminist icon story.
No, I think she's great. I think she's such a fun character and such a good addition to the show.
I'm like, I get it. You know, if you have a baby in the 15th century, how much are you really going to care about it? Like, most of them die if they ever get born. They're all not even your property.
Well, she actively hates her son. The only person she's ever loved is that one guy her son killed.
That was random. But then she does love Crowley at the end because she wants to get him back randomly. So I like when she shows up and they kind of tease that she's Crowley's mom. I like when she does the hello boys.
Hello boys.
I love that. It's such a cute little mother like son.
Yeah.
What about Ruby?
I liked her.
Mrs. Padalecki.
She overstayed her welcome, maybe, but I liked her character.
She was fine.
I thought she was fun. I thought it was a fun, like, character to have, and I liked her and Sam. Hot take, liked her and Sam's dynamic. I thought it was fun to do.
I thought it was really fun.
I thought Sam's
it's
kind
of random. Boy, why does he sleep with the demon?
Because
she seduces him.
No, I do think she's like his. He sees her as like she's being like a support to him. Like,
right, she's giving him blood, right?
as like his friend. Like she's like, I'm looking out for you, Sam. I care about you. And he's like, I didn't realize demons could like care about people. And she's like, no, I do care about you. Like I think,
but she does eventually care about him, right? Or does she?
Kind
is she always evil?
I think she kind of manipulates. I think it's like she manipulates him. I think she like. She's a very twisted kind of like. I think she cares a little bit about him, but she's also a demon.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think like at the end of the day, that's not like she's not getting redeemed.
That was fun. She's kind of a one-note character. She served her purpose.
Oh wait, no, that's not Ruby. That's
like
Meg.
A blonde. Okay, that's different. Okay, sorry. Yeah, Ruby's cool.
No, I actually do think Ruby does.
Meg is the one that like is
I'm
a good
remembering
demon.
now. Ruby's the one who actually I think did care about Sam, and I think Meg is the one who's like very gray.
Oh, okay.
Very sometimes bad, sometimes good. Very self-interest. I mean, they both are.
Amara.
I thought she was a little
interesting. I thought her relationship with her brother God was interesting. Otherwise, kind of a stupid character, and like, why would they go that route? That was weird.
Yeah.
I don't get like how they kind of said that her and Dean have a romance, but like I don't see why they kind of made that parallel. When
they said like that her and Dean have a romance. Like, they also said that
she's like is seductive when he's in front of her, which just feels like
he just like basically has no control. He hates her, but like he can't do anything about it.
He won't be able to kill her.
There's like something that he can't kill her, but like it doesn't matter.
It seemed like a weirdly vague.
It was a weird like if you're gonna build this romance, build something. Don't just
I thought they were kind of gonna go harder on that.
And well, I mean, they also said that like Dean and Bella had like a romantic tension, and I was like a little bit, but you knew that they were never. I was like, you knew they weren't gonna get together. Yeah. She's the bad guy. Like he just isn't gonna do that. Like Sam is the character.
I liked Bella.
I guess I did like Bella, but Sam is the character who like you could see him hooking up with one of the bad guys because Sam's the one who believes in redemption and believes in all that stuff. Dean is like the character who like you just like can't really see him.
He's too stubborn.
Like he just like can't see past.
He would never see past you being a demon.
Like he'd be like, you're bad. Like that's just
he's kind of he profiles.
So yeah. And so like
that's
as much as like it would be fun for Dean to have a love interest, I think he's not the one of the two of them who's likely to date one of the villains. And I honestly like Sam with a villain. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, it's good. Because I think it adds a lot to Sam too, who is the person who's supposed to see deeper than he's supposed to see past like the. And he's supposed to get into like, well, what does this all really mean? Like, what really are demons and what really are angels, and like, what does this mean for humanity?
Dean's just gonna be with a person who is basically a hero, and Sam's gonna be with a person who like he's helping them to realize that they can be good. They don't have to be bad.
Sam's gonna fix someone. Yeah. And Dean's gonna
have
someone that can tolerate him.
I think I wrote in one of my hot takes about something. I was like, Sam's like the YA main girl who's like meets a broken person and says, "I can fix you,"
and all his girlfriends like die.
And they're just fucked up. Do you have more characters you want to talk about, or do you want?
Did you like Metatron? Did you not like Metatron? I thought he was kind of annoying at times.
I didn't give a shit about him. You listed a lot of characters that I had zero opinions about.
I thought Kevin was kind of boring and was randomly killed for no reason.
Kevin was like sometimes he was funny and he was annoying a lot of the time.
He's the bottom of my list. Charlie. And I just think her quirkiness is too much. And I think just like her forehead, like every line she says, it's just like I'm the token gay character. I'm gay. Do you get it? It's like, okay, like
sometimes I just felt like Charlie was like basically a female Sam. I was like, she's just the nerd one who like also is doing hunting and wants to learn about all this shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I didn't care, but I just didn't care. Like Sam's not an interesting enough character for me.
If she was for an episode. It was weird to me that she was a long-standing character.
I didn't mind when she like came back once in a while. I just didn't want to see her a lot.
This precludes alternate version Charlie, who so far I think is fine because she's a little more quiet and stoic. That works a little bit more for her.
I like quirky characters, so I actually
know
have
you
no
like the
problem
quirky
with
Charlie. I can't do it,
but
I think it dates the show when they're making all these pop culture references, and it's like, okay,
well, to be fair,
you're like she's just so like
could have
chuggy.
You watched it when it came out, and now you're watching it again.
That's what I don't like about her.
Okay,
cringy. Anyways, moving on.
Do you want to talk about the finales?
Yeah.
I was gonna start with the season 5 finale, maybe.
Go for it.
I didn't have a lot to say. I thought this was a really well done finale. I really liked how they had built up for 5 seasons. I felt like the story, everything had come to a peak. They're saving the world from the apocalypse. It's like a massive payoff after like dedicating 5 years of watching
so
the
ramped
show.
up. That's the
Like,
episode where they do the song and the Impala jumps over the. Oh, it's so good.
It's so quality. Everything that happens is so impactful. Joe and Ellen's death is like, I mean, it was an emotional impact still, but like,
I would have been fine with it if that was the last, if that was the series finale.
The end.
And that would have been fine.
Like,
because I knew that was how it was going to end.
Dean sort of goes, like, I didn't like that he went back to Lisa, but Dean goes to Lisa, like, tail between his legs after, like, losing everything, and he needs, like, stability and, like, love in his life, and he decides that this is, like, what he's going to do, and he, like,
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with Dean getting a regular life.
No, and yeah, he just decides, like, he has a regular life now, and he's like, I need to get out of this. Like, I've lost my brother, I've lost my closest friends, like, I've lost too many people to this, like, war, and like I stopped the world from the apocalypse. I get a break now. I get to retire, and I think that's really fair. I really loved it. I liked the idea that like they've spent 5 years fighting demons and vampires and different monsters and ghosts and stuff, and now they're stopping the apocalypse, and it's like, that's the final.
Yeah, they've done the most they could possibly
They've done everything, and like
except no,
you're allowed to stop.
They have.
And so the fact that they do. And it's, like, really, like, epic. Like, it's a big
I think
a big
also
finale.
Jared Padalecki fucking brings it.
Yeah.
Of this season.
I think
his best.
Everyone crushes the finale. Like, I just think the end of season 5 is really, really good. And then the fact that they have 10 seasons after that just, honestly, to me, belittles it, like, a lot.
Well, it's bad. Like, I'm really trying to convince people to watch it. Like, I don't want to watch a show that's going to get shitty.
It's like, no,
and
just
like,
stop
no, it's
watching.
Not. It's season 5.
Stop watching after season 5.
I promise you, watch till season 5. It's a good show.
Because
it's a good show till season 5.
It feels like...
It's a very white show, but it's a good show till season 5.
It is a very white... It's a very white, straight show.
You can get past that.
But if you can get past that... No, I just think it feels like everything builds up so well and pays off.
Well, they tease it, right? They show, like... They're already showing in, like, season 3. Like, you know, you get snippets of,
like, everything
and
pays off at the end of season 5.
Prophecy. That's what I love about prophecy. It's good foreshadowing. Like, Lucifer... So good.
Did such a good job. Lucifer's so good.
He's so fun.
And Meg is
I never thought I would root for Lucifer,
she's so
but
funny.
I was like, he's so fun to just watch. Yeah, she was good too.
And just like they have all the characters.
Well, then sometimes I think, you know what, like that was the ultimate series ending, but then I think, you know, if you stopped watching there, you would never meet Kiralee.
Yeah,
you would
but
never meet like.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, there's still good stuff later on.
No, there's good stuff later on. I just think I honestly would have been okay with. Yeah, I just think the season 5 finale was so good, and it made the show, like, that show would have been, like, I feel like, I think that show did get, like, a lot of, like, acclaim, and, like, they got, like, awards and stuff, like, for the first few seasons. They were so good. Yeah. And, like, it felt really big. Like, you know, like, there was battles, and it was, like, huge.
The stakes were never higher, even though they were dealing with technically higher stakes. The stakes were never higher
than the season 5 finale, yeah.
They really built the shit up, and they made you feel it.
But I would say, okay...
Yeah.
To switch gears into season 15 finale.
Yeah.
The second to last episode of season 15 should have been the final episode. Okay. It's really good. So they like, well, no, it's not like that good. There's obviously
a lot. Cass dies.
But no, Cass dies in the third to last episode.
That's fucking crazy to me.
Crazy.
That he doesn't make it to the end of his series where he's a third co-lead.
I'm so bitter about that. But I enjoyed, there are like parallels to Cain and Abel being like Dean and Sam. And basically the way it is Chuck's pissed off that Dean and Sam, like, he wants their story. He, like, basically says, like, your story ends, one of you kills the other one, like Cain and Abel. Your two brothers who, like, this is what happens. And Dean and Sam say, fuck that, we're not going to do that. Yeah. Chuck's mad about that, gets really petty, and kills, like, gets rid of everyone in the world. Which, like, oh, shocking. He's mad that they won't follow his book. Like, he's the writer. He wants them to follow his story. And Dean and Sam are, like, trying to figure out a way to, like, save people. But they're like, what do we do when there's no one else to save? Like, it's just you, me, and Jack who are alive. And Jack can't do anything because he doesn't have any power right now or something like that. Or, like, he's not charged up. I don't know what it is.
He's some charge for a bit.
And, like... I think it's, like, a cool storyline that I kind of want to go back and watch, because if they executed that well, that'd be really interesting, of, like, he's been playing them, like, he's been making them think different things and, like, toying with them a lot. And, like, it's so fun that God's the big bad because, like, again, in the Bible, like, God's kind of the big bad, and like most of the stories.
I think it's a natural conclusion for this series.
It's
for
kind
going
of
as long as it did that, God would be the big bad.
It's kind of a fun, and he's like, it's kind of fun.
It's
also,
weird that they also made him the big bad for like a couple seasons prior, but like fine.
It's kind of fun that they play it off as like he's basically, but they also play it off as like he's okay. So he's the big bad because he's God, but also they play it off as like he's a disgruntled author whose characters aren't adhering to what he wants. It's almost like he wrote a story and then some fangirl rewrote it and he didn't like that ending, so he threw a hissy fit and like fucked everything up, which I think is really interesting, like a fun way to like put it. And then Jack overthrows God and like takes his power from him, and it's like the perfect ending for Jack's character.
Yeah.
And then
of course he's gonna be God.
Yeah. Okay,
Everyone
you seem
knew
mad,
that.
but
No, I'm just the thing with
no,
the
just like
finale is
story wise,
yeah,
just,
it
like,
went exactly how I thought it was gonna go.
it's very complete. And then I think the punishment of Chuck like having to live out his life human is kind of a fitting punishment because he talks about, because it's like he thinks he's above everyone, like he thinks he's better than everyone. So it's like, okay, no, well now you have to like just become
Actually
this.
be human.
And Sam's like, you're gonna be forgotten, like you're not gonna be remembered. No one's gonna know who you were, and which is interesting because he's a very famous author. So I don't think that's true, but Chuck's character is a very famous author.
Well, how well do we remember the creators of
Yeah, but whatever. And so that's like an interesting. And then the last like few minutes of it are like basically Sam and Dean, like a montage of all the people and the friends that they've made along the way. So it's very like end closing of the chapter.
That I'm okay with,
Like,
I guess.
It's a very like
I feel like the
fantastic,
ultimately seeing them all in heaven. That's what I would expect them to do. But I guess they can get everyone back.
whatever. It's a very like fantastic like end of the series. Like it feels like, okay, we've built up to this now, and like this is the end, and like here's the fan tribute of like a montage of like them throughout, like from season 1 to like, and you see everyone in the montage.
Okay,
basically.
that's cool.
And so that's really fun.
I like a good corny series finale.
Like, you know,
At least like a long like.
What annoyed me about the season finale is
Staggered
that the three
one
main
like
characters are Jack, Sam, and Dean instead of Sam, Dean, and Castiel, because Castiel dies in the episode before. And then this obviously should have been the season finale. But the real last episode is some piece of shit garbage where they just go on a hunt and Dean randomly dies from like being impaled. And like also, Dean's death scene is one of the worst death scenes I've ever seen in my life. He's impaled and he goes, Sam, I don't think I'm going to make it. And Sam's like, what are you talking about? And it's like, I don't think I'm going to.
What are you talking about?
He's acting like he's not in pain. Well, he's not impaled fully. Like he's impaled in the back and he's like against the thingy and you can't see him in the front.
Bleeding.
No, he doesn't start bleeding. They don't show any blood. Nothing like that.
So he's not PG-14 anymore.
And then he does this like dramatic scene of like saying like, oh, like, no, it's okay. Like, it's my time. Like, live your life.
You love Sam.
Kind of thing. But then, like Jensen Ackles, for all the good acting that I've seen, did such a shit job with that scene where I'm like, dude, like, you realize you're impaled, right? Like, act like you're in fucking pain. Act like you're actually dying here. And instead you're like trying to do this dramatic scene and you can't even do that. Like, have you just been acting on this show for too long that you don't know how to act anymore? Like, what the fuck is going on?
That's crazy. No, that's crazy. To me, that's the most, for Dean as a character, who from the start they've shown could benefit from not being in this life. And don't they show that he maybe or maybe not accepted a job offer when they decided to let go of hunting, but they went on this last time?
So
to me, that's like,
that's the
tragedy. That's Chuck's intended ending.
Like, I think the tragedy for me is, so they really push this narrative of like, so Dean basically says like, it's okay, Sam, like, live your life, be happy. And they really push this narrative. And then Sam goes and like he gets married and has like the white picket fence life.
With like some random bitch.
Girl.
And they like, what?
What frustrates me about that is, so I think they've kind of built it up as like, Dean is almost like putting this like narrative of wanting like a wife and kids and a family onto Sam. But I think it's something that he really wants. Because, like, we see him have that. Like, when Sam is gone...
That's just the inverse of season 5 finale.
We see...
Where Sam dies and Dean starts a family. And this time it's Dean dies and Sam starts a family.
But, like, we also know what happens when one of them dies. Like, when Dean dies, the other time, Sam goes crazy trying to find a way to get him back. And like every time that Dean has died, Sam has never thought about like establishing roots and like living a normal life. He's like, no, I have to save my, you have to get my brother. So like for me,
since Dad went on a hunting trip and he hasn't been home in a few days.
So for me, it's like, no, Sam has actively chosen this life every single time, and Dean hasn't.
Yeah,
so
Dean's the only one
seems to
has
me
no choice.
that Dean would be the one who ultimately his character arc completion should be him realizing that this isn't the life that
this
he
is
wants.
the sad ending. This what they gave us was
Like,
Chuck's ending, which was the sad,
this is
tragic
like a
ending
tragedy
where no one gets what they want.
And then Sam, like, they really try to push this image of like that's what Sam wanted, and it's like, no, this is what Dean wanted. This is very clearly what Dean
Sam
wanted.
was meant to lead the hunters. I feel like they built that up at the end.
Yeah, Sam was meant to be the leader of the hunters, and Dean was meant to just like
Or die, which they did in season 5, so they can do that again.
Dean was meant to. I think Dean was meant to like have a normal life because I think Dean desperately wanted that, and he didn't.
Dean's the normal one.
He didn't know that he
Dean
could
likes
have
pie
it.
and cheeseburgers and movies. He could enjoy a normal life.
Like he's the only one who has
he likes
successfully.
mowing the lawn.
Of the
Remember
two
that
brothers-
episode where he mows the lawn because he loves it?
Yeah, well, of the two brothers, he's the only one who successfully had that
This is such a sad ending.
stable traditional
It's
life.
just so disappointed and so sad
And like
how they end this.
he wants it. Like it's,
They had no idea what to say.
It's so sad
about
that
these
like he
characters
can't
after
achieve that.
15 seasons.
And then Sam gets this happily. And also, my problem with Sam is, yeah, he just marries some random girl. Like, at least if you're gonna do that, build up or like plant in a few seasons that Sam has a love interest.
Well,
that
I
there's
thought
like,
they were gonna do Eileen. Like I thought that was something else.
I thought it was 2, but I wasn't that into her, so I'm okay with that.
Well, they killed her off really early.
Yeah,
But then they showed that she was back alive or something. I don't know.
she was
Well, would it
alive.
be interesting at least if they showed like, yeah, that was her. Like they revealed that it was Eileen, or
Yeah.
like showed that the kid was signing. Maybe.
Yeah.
Cute. At least something to tie us. Because especially when it feels like, I feel like there were 2 narratives that could have happened for the finale, and I feel like both have been alluded to and set up. But I think one would have been more fulfilling than the other. But the first one I think they would have done is Sam and Dean are 2 brothers till the end with this very special, beautiful relationship where they will always die for the other and never let the other stay in peace.
They'll never let the other go.
Maybe there are brothers that have this beautiful relationship and they'll always sacrifice anything for each other, and that should be the message of the story is family above all else. But I think what this show maybe inadvertently also conveys is how Sam and Dean have a very toxic codependent relationship where they're basically
They depicted
super, like,
as
dependent on each other.
they basically depicted as like Dean ruined Sam's life.
They're just as Dean, and then in later seasons, I feel like they're just depicted as a married couple, which doesn't seem healthy for 2 siblings.
And I think also Dean doesn't have to die for Sam or Dean to pursue a normal life. Like they keep having this idea that like in order to be hunters, they have to forego love or family or anything like that because they don't want to be like their dad. And I think it's crazy to me because like they call the bunker their home. Like they could easily have a home and they just maybe they hunt less often. Maybe they like semi-retire and that's fine. But like they're always going to need a home base. They don't have to say no to like having the other things that they want, having a life, having a family. If they want a normal life, they can leave hunting. They've saved the world enough times to stop.
Well, I think like, yeah, they could have they have like their legacy as Winchesters to live up to, but I think they also have, which is a very strong message of, I think the entire series is like the concept of found family and having, you know, Castiel around and their mom and Bobby and, you know, Charlie and Jack and like all these people that aren't biologically with them that are their family.
Yeah.
And to me, the optimistic, like the good ending to the show for me would have been Sam and Dean not being forced apart, but choosing to go their own ways
And
to do things separately because they have their
lives.
own support systems in their own lives.
Yeah. I think that would have been really nice. And I think, but fine. Okay. Dean dies and Sam starts a family. Even if I can get behind all of that and like the fact that they don't give Sam any love, like they should give him
a face to this
a love
woman
interest, like
married.
the woman
Like,
he marries. Like give him get like little tidbits. Like it's super random that like we're just like, oh yeah.
Why does
what if we
Sam
have-
want to have a child? Has he ever shown that he wants to be a father? Who has? Dean.
Maybe. I think also
step
for
up.
Sam, it's like if you had sort of like given us like this like epic romance between Sam and someone throughout this series, then it would have been like, oh, and finally there's this payoff of like Sam gets to be with this person and can stop like running from like a life with them because he finally can like stop moving, and that would be fine too.
Like in heaven, like when he finally reunites with Dean, they pan out and it's like they show, oh, your dad lives on the street. Oh, your abusive dad that like tormented you as children.
Yeah, but
that's nice. Where's Castiel that's been with you? Like, don't follow up on that at all.
They do
just
say
where's your dad and where's your mom?
Castiel helped me.
He rebuilt heaven. No follow up questions on that. Doesn't care.
His parents lived together because they retcon it as like, oh well, like we love our dad. He was just like pretty messed up after mom
died. But it's like, to me, it's like them, like finally, like the final scene of them having dinner with like their biological parents is such an antithesis or whatever. The
final scene is literally he meets Sam in heaven. Like Sam dies and
Dean goes to dinner with his parents or something.
That never happens. He just says like he can.
Oh, his parents live down the street.
His parents live down the street.
I saw the thing where they pan out and they just focus on like the pictures of like John and Mary or something. There's a real focus on like him and Sam and John and Mary. I've heard. Okay, maybe not.
I think the heaven scene in general was kind of unnecessary, but fine. I get to see like Bobby, so that's nice. But
if
like
the heaven scene, bring back everyone.
The heaven scene was really dumb to me. And then like also I felt like the entire last episode could have been basically last like 5 minutes of the second last episode where maybe like Sam's telling the story of him and his brother to like his kids or something, kind of a vibe. Like he's like, and then that's what happened, and then my brother like, and then like they'll be like, oh, and Uncle Dean like passed away a little while ago or something like that. And they can kind of allude to the fact that I don't know. They can kind of allude to the fact that like Dean's gone now and it's done. And that's fine, but
they just cut like.
They cut to like after the big finale.
I see what you mean. Like he died implied of old age or whatever. Like
or maybe he died on a hunt. Yeah, like that's fine if that's how Dean went, and that's totally chill. But not showing Dean's death scene and just having Sam basically talking to his kid, like, and that's like that's some crazy stuff that we've been through and kind of stuff like that. Like wrapping it up, because otherwise, like the finale it's so pointless. It's so empty. There's nothing to it.
Well, especially because it's like. The finale, the series finale to me is the same finale as any other season.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it could have been thrown in anywhere. That's the thing with Supernatural, is like, characters are always dying. They're always having these nice moments of reconnecting with family at the end of a season. Like,
well, and it takes
that
away.
Never means it's done. That never means it's over.
The fact that
so why does this mean it's over?
Well, and the fact that Sam and Dean go back to normal life so quickly after everything that happened takes away, I think, from the gravity of like the finale, like of like also defeating God. Yeah. Also, it's a pitiful finale too. Like their fight against God is like a fist fight where God beats them up for a little bit, and then Jack comes in and takes his powers. And I'm like, this is so lame. Like it's already not great, and then you take away every like thing that it was for this finale of them hunting. This finale almost felt like it should have been like a reunion episode that they do in 10 years when they're like, you want to like make a random episode where like we show what happened to Sam and Dean after this,
and it's like shitty and like
and it's just stupid.
Well, yeah, it's weird.
It was so dumb.
I was just like why? Like I feel like it was too bad.
They think they're so.
Maybe they'll pick it up again. Maybe it'll be a season 16.
It definitely won't be. They think it's so emotional when Sam's son says like the words basically that like Dean was like saying like where he's like, it's okay, you can go, it's okay, and Dean sort of says like it's okay, like live a life, it's okay. And I'm like, it's not emotional, it's stupid. And also we just saw Dean die like one episode ago.
Why do I care about Sam's kid? Show me Jack.
Yeah.
Saying that. Show me Castiel. Like I don't care about Sam's kid.
I mean, they can't show you Jack and they can't show you Castiel because those characters haven't been written off and finished. But I do think that it's just like if Sam was just like telling this story to his kid and you like alluded to the fact that he had a family in a life, I wouldn't even care who his like wife is, but like you sort of build up this big thing like this is what Sam's always wanted. I'm like, with who? Like just a general family. Like his brother died, so he just like decided I guess I'll start a family. I'll go find a woman now.
It would have been maybe okay season 5 for like, like season 5 or like season 6 where that was still on your minds was that Sam wanted this. But by season 15, this is their lives. They love hunting.
Yeah,
this is their careers. This is what they do. They've regurgitated every season since like season 6 that actually we love hunting because we take pride in saving people and that's really important to us and that's the family business and we like
and saving things.
They wanted to
the family business.
And they're not trying to get out of it. Like, if anything, that like Sam should be dating a hunter and still be hunting, like, or teaching his kid how to hunt. I don't know. Like,
I think like
the wishy-washy between the hunter life being their desired future and also being like this an unescapable like torment that their lives
And
are
also,
subjected
Sam
to. It's
like
crazy.
consistently picks hunting over a normal life.
Yes.
After his girlfriend dies, after Jess dies, the
He's
only
like,
person
"No,
he's ever
I'll
really
hunt."
loved, he's like, hunt, I have to hunt. And it's fine, it's tragic, but it's fine.
Well, so you say, "Oh, I came back to life when I was killed after being Lucifer's vessel because I meant to hunt and I meant to protect this world." And like,
Yeah.
and that's, I think both of them at some point too did that. Like, "Oh, you're meant to protect her," and I think that's like fine if they want to take that up as their like birthright or their legacy. And just like
I
stop,
also just think
retconning
the show continually does this whole like you can't have love and be a hunter, and I think that's wild to me because like obviously you
There's
can.
couples that
They're
hunt.
just like scarred
And they
by
have
like
brotherly love and they hunt.
they're just like scarred by like what their dad like did to them as kids, basically, that like they don't think like they can have anything, like they don't think they could have like a partner, like a family or anything like that because
they're so
they do hunting.
because they're bonded and fused by the like trauma that their father imposed on
and
them.
it's like no, like you can like find a way to balance your life. You just need to find a way to balance your life. Like it's literally that. It's not easy, but like you could figure this out if this is what you really want. Like you didn't have to
do that.
You don't have to pause this
They
aspect of your
have a
life.
family with Cass and with Jack, who is like their miracle child.
It's
that
not
they
a
adopt.
traditional one. They want a traditional.
That's the thing, is they're just like, "Oh no, but your biological family is the only one that matters, even if they like abuse you and make deals with demons to sacrifice you and your like family to the greater evil." Like,
Yeah, that's true. All right. Well, should we talk about hot takes?
yeah,
Yeah, I said most of mine. Like, I liked Jo, even though a lot of people hated her. I liked Sam more than Dean in the first 2 seasons.
fair enough.
Castiel's my all-time favorite character.
Aww,
But I
that's
wish he had
cute.
been like pansexual or like a little more
Yeah.
interesting. I wanted Sam to bang Rowena, so also.
Oh, nice.
I think it would have been really funny. I think, like I said, in general,
Why not? Right?
I like
She's so
Sam.
cute.
I like Sam with a villain and a morally gray character. I think it's really interesting. Her and Sam had a very flirty relationship.
Yeah, they totally
And I totally
did.
could see, like, they had a lot of chemistry. And I know they would never put any of them with an older woman because that's just not the
Too
norm.
taboo, but like
Too
Rowena's
taboo.
not even like
But,
she's
like-
like old in the sense that she's thousands of years old. So is Castiel.
But, like, Sam and Rowena had such a good dynamic that I really dug. And they were so good together. And I do at least appreciate that. I do feel like they acknowledged the emotional weight of that relationship, like, that it was meaningful to both of them.
That's cute. Yeah.
Like, because in the episodes that I've watched, and I've seen, like, their final episode, like, I haven't seen their final episode
they
together.
do like care for each
But
other.
I've
They give each
seen-
other a lot of slack.
But I've seen like clips of like them together in like later seasons too, and it's like you see like a genuine care for their relationship, and like Rowena does genuinely care about Sam, and Sam does
Like Rowena's never on
genuinely
the
care.
shopping blog for
Yeah, and
Monster Hunter.
Sam really does care about her too, and you see like there is some emotional weight to that
What
relationship
is it
that
with
there isn't
Sam and
with
like
others.
older women? Because I feel like there's another episode as well where they're somewhere and they're being hit on by older women, and that's like the joke.
I
But
do
like
think-
Sam's being specifically hit on by like a couple of older women, but specifically, and I was like, honestly, like I kind of get this for Sam.
yeah, I don't know why Sam does come
I
off
feel like
like
he's
he
like
should
a-
be with an older woman.
Someone who knows what they're doing and like handle
because Sam's the
themselves.
baby.
Yeah, he's kind of a baby.
He needs to be taken care
Kind of
of.
impressionable. Like he needs like a bad girl to break him out of his shell a little bit.
But yeah, he's a mean girl who can change. He's the main girl in the teen drama who can change the bad boy, and Rowena's the bad
Yeah.
boy.
Rowena's
who-
a bad boy.
he does
I love Rowena.
He does
She's my
effectively change her.
favorite
Like he
character.
sort of makes her. He makes her more
He
morally
does.
gray. I think he helps her like become a better person.
Justice for Destiel and Samina. Samina.
I really liked them, but I also did really like Jess. I was sad she died. I think in another universe, her and Sam.
Does. I mean, yeah,
His,
that's the
like,
whole point.
girlfriend.
That's the whole
In another
point.
world, her and Sam would have had a
She
lovely
also
life.
plays Superman's girlfriend in Smallville.
She's just hot, I think. I was also into Sam and Ruby's relationship, though I kind of wished Ruby's feelings for Sam had been more genuine, and like that she, as a demon, just wanted to be a better person with him and for him. Like, I just think Sam was so good when he was paired with those characters, you know? Like, I really enjoyed it. But Sam's a stronger, like, when he was with Ruby, he was really weak. And with Rowena, what I enjoy is, like, he's really strong and, like, he knows who he is. Like, he's very confident.
They could become a
So,
power
like,
couple.
They can become a power couple. Also, like, he's not going to, like, compromise his morals the same way he did with Ruby.
Well, he would teach Rowena
Because
like,
he
how to,
knows
like,
what he's okay
care
with and
about
what he's
who
not
he
okay
likes.
with. I hated Dean's death scene, but I don't think that's controversial. And
that was
I
so
hated
good.
the series finale.
That was
so
his
goddamn
worst
much.
nightmare, was dying on the hunt. He always believed he would die on his hunt, a sacrifice.
Yeah, he literally says in his death scene,
and
we
that
always
was like,
knew
he's
this
like,
is how it's
my
gonna
purpose
go.
is to die for my brother on a hunt, saving people hunting things.
Yeah, he always
Yeah.
said this is how we knew it was gonna go, and I think that's a tragedy.
Yeah, that's tragic.
Dean's story is a tragedy. Dean's whole story is a fucking tragedy.
Jensen Ackles.
Justice for him.
Yeah, he's on the boys now. He's doing it.
I mean, justice for Dean, not Jensen Ackles.
Yeah, sorry, justice for Dean.
Jensen Ackles probably could have said, no, fuck, I don't want to do that ending.
I was just like, okay, well, this is my discussion question. Why do they hate anyone who isn't Sam or Dean? Why can none of them also be important? Why can no one get added to the duo that is Sam and Dean? Not even Castiel.
Not even
gets
Castiel.
added to Winchester like Sam and Dean status. Mary just slides in, no problem, and that's fine.
Well, nobody likes Mary.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's not just
Castiel
a woman,
is
it's just
important, to be fair. Castiel, I think, Castiel's Dean's best friend.
Is it because they can never afford to keep that many people on the show for the same amount of time? Castiel's always getting run out of episodes.
I think they don't know what to do with Castiel, though. Castiel's very powerful. But I can't answer the question of why they don't care about anyone the way they care about Sam and Dean. They just don't care. I'm honestly very impressed that they got Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki to stay on the show for 15 seasons.
Me too. It's such a mixed bag of a show. And I think we'll never totally be satisfied.
Yeah, I mean,
but you get the tidbits.
To be fair, I think Supernatural in general it was never made to be quality, and
it's epic highs and epic lows
of high school football.
In all aspects of the show. It's either.
I mean, I did love it growing up, and I think I loved it growing up.
I've loved it on rewatch. I've been rewatching the later seasons. I think honestly, there's a lot to enjoy.
I think just at the end of the day, Supernatural is just the tragedy of Dean Winchester.
It's a tragedy of bad writing when you have a good show.
When you have
people who don't know what to do with it.
That's true. All right. Well, thanks for listening to us not read into Supernatural
Not too much.
Oh, for fucking ever, man. Make sure to, if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure to comment, like, subscribe. If you're listening to us, that's good too. We like our listeners too. Tune in every Monday to listen to new episodes. Thanks so much. Bye.